Is it
And we're
actually
live.
streaming this time?
Yeah, it's actually working this
We're
time.
alive. So you know what really pisses me off?
Hmm.
Uh, I decided to buy Dune on YouTube,
Okay.
and specifically says because it was in Ultra HD.
Mm-hmm.
I can watch it in 4K. But then I go to stream it, and it's not in 4K. It's in 480.
Ew.
And I was like, maybe it's just stuck on the like trailer resolution. So I refreshed it, restarted the browser, nothing. It's stuck in 480. And so I go to do some research on this, and I find that uh, because of COVID, they are limiting all PC movie resolutions to like 480
Oh, Jesus.
on the PC specifically, which is a total horseshit.
Yeah, that's stupid.
It's completely fucking stupid, and everyone's really pissed off. I was really pissed off. But then I found out that if you stream it on your TV
Mm-hmm.
via YouTube app
You can
or on your PlayStation,
anything that isn't a PC.
anything that isn't a PC, it's totally fine.
Hmm.
So there's some I don't know why. There's obviously some sort of licensing problem with it, but and apparently they all do that. I think that Amazon Prime limits it to 1080p for PC
Uh,
for
S-
things.
Steam did that thing during like the height of the pandemic, where, and I think they're still doing it, where they like hella throttle your automatic updates for games. So like,
Mm,
yeah, just trying to cut down on network
so
throughput overall.
stupid. As if I mean, is there seriously like
A shortage?
a shortage of bandwidth?
I don't think so. No.
I don't. It's a conspiracy, man. They're trying to keep us down.
Trying to keep us down.
I've never been so. I mean, when I grew up, I was stuck on dial-up modem for longer than I should have been, like
Mhm.
far beyond DSL and cable. My parents would just refuse to get it, even though like I had a job, and I'd be like, "Listen, I want to pay for this, but I can't because I'm not an adult yet, and they won't let me put it in here." So I was stuck on dial-up forever.
Yeah.
So I'm really sensitive about my internet.
Had
problems.
dial-up as a kid, then we went to DSL. Actually, it wasn't even DSL. It was fixed wireless, but it was DSL speeds. Because it was old fixed wireless.
Yeah.
And then following that, when we moved to Washington, we had a different fixed wireless service that was a little faster, but it was still shit, and it kept going down because they installed like substandard lines for it, and one of them had like melted through, and so if the wind would pick up, it would like it would just like stop working. And so finally, this was when I lived in Finley. Finally, one day I just like ordered Charter and had it ran directly to my room. So I had good internet in my bedroom, and the rest of the house had shit because they refused to get rid of theirs.
Yeah.
Because they like knew the guy who owns Desert Winds Wireless, and yeah, it was the whole thing.
It was so fucking frustrating as a kid. I almost just left the house because I was just like, "Listen, I'll fucking pay for the internet." I was like 12 or 13 or some shit. And then they were just like, "Nope, won't do it. Don't trust it." Because we were on AOL the whole time. Like the majority of my youth, my early youth was spent on AOL. And we had that stupid fucking, they wouldn't get another phone line either. We had that stupid fucking little blue box that you plug your modem, it goes through that and into your computer so that if someone calls, it just kicks you off the internet.
Oh God.
God,
Those were the days.
God. Trying to download a song at 5 kilobytes a second.
Yeah. I remember I was trying to download the soundtrack for the Final Fantasy VII movie, and yeah, I was downloading it one MP3 at a time, and each one would take like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I remember with my shitty little computer in my room, I would be downloading. I remember that's how I got introduced to Cowboy Bebop. I was trying to download Bittersweet Symphony.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't Bittersweet Symphony. It was, but it was a fan made music video with
Cowboy
Bebop scenes in it. And I was just like, and it was downloading so goddamn slow. You know how it like downloads random parts and you can just like skip to those parts. So I'd like come back to my computer after an hour, and I'd have like a couple seconds of here and a couple seconds of there, and I'd be like, "Wow, this show looks really dope." And
Yeah,
then I scoured the internet trying to figure out what the fuck it was, and then I found Cowboy Bebop.
I was super stoked whenever I discovered torrenting because I was still on the shitty fixed wireless that kept going out, and so it wasn't because it was because of the piracy aspect. It was because I could download a full file without the internet connection getting like interrupted and I'd
Yeah.
have to start over. I was like, "Wow, this technology is great."
I never used Napster, but I used BearShare for a while.
I never used any of those, like Napster, LimeWire. Like I
Yeah, LimeWire too.
got into BitTorrent in like 2008. Like I was way late to the game on that.
Yeah, I eventually jumped on BitTorrent. I think it's still a thing, right?
Yeah.
And there's like the light version of that.
uTorrent.
uTorrent.
I use Deluge, but that's a Linux one.
God, dude, I have so many torrenting stories.
I have a pointedly non-torrenting story that's pretty interesting.
It's like pointedly.
Pointedly. So because I wasn't into like Napster or any of that stuff, I would always get I was never an album guy. I was a single track person. Like, oh, I like this song and I want this one
Me
song.
too.
Yeah. And so I would just go and do a Google search for the name of this song, MP3. There's usually some janky website that would just have a direct download for it. But you remember those like websites that didn't have skins? They would just be a white page with a bunch of links.
Yep.
Yeah. So I found one of those that had a bunch of anime music on it, and not just anime music, it was just Japanese music in general.
Yep.
And there was like this like 80s kind of folk rock sort of like 80s 90s kind of Japanese folk rock band. I'm not really sure how to describe their music other than that, but
what were they called?
It was called Samurai Delicatessen, which is also the name of an old SNL skit. And I know this because I was looking for that band because I have a 30-second sample of a song, and I was like, I really like this song. I want the whole thing. This was a few years back. And so I'm like, I'm much smarter now and much more capable of browsing the internet. And even if I can find a paid copy, I can actually buy it now because I couldn't then because I was a little kid. So I start searching for this, and no luck. I probably spent 6 or 7 hours on it over the course of a few days just looking for this one song. And finally, I find a forum post that this guy is telling a story about his experiences with this band because he like knows one of the members of the band. Yeah. And so I sign up for an account on that forum, and then I sent a direct message to the guy and I said, hey, this is my situation. I'm looking for this song. I'm willing to buy it. Is there anything you can do to help me? And then the guy messaged me back like the next day. He's like, I'll look into it and see what I can do. I remember this album from a really long time ago. And then a couple weeks later, I kind of forgot about it. And then I get another message from this guy, and he has contacted one of the band members, who has then subsequently contacted their record company that they published this song through. And unfortunately, there is no surviving accessible copy of this song, of the full song. Like it's on CDs on people's shelves somewhere in the world. Some people probably have it ripped to computers, but there is no possible way on the internet without finding a needle in a haystack to find this, because the original creators of the music do not have the track.
What?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and it's just really weird that I actually got through to just some random fucking Japanese folk rock band.
Yeah. That's actually pretty dope.
Yeah.
There's another, it's like a folky metal Japanese band, and my late friend Eric told me about it. It's called like Blues Creation, I think is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it, let me see if I can find them. Demon and 11, I think that's what they are. Blues Creation. It's just this Japanese kind of funk, like 70s metal band, and they sing in English, and it sounds goofy as fuck, but the music's actually really good. But I remember you ever see Artificial Intelligence?
I've seen bits and pieces. I've never seen the
The
whole
movie
movie.
about the robot kid.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. I just haven't seen the whole thing.
So there was a scene in there where he's like in some carnival
Mm-hmm.
where they basically throw him into the arena to be destroyed, and there's a band playing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And the band's called Ministry, and the song is called "What About Us." But I didn't fucking know that because I saw it like at a friend's house, and so I went on this adventure trying to figure out who the fuck it was, and I was torrenting all these songs, and I remember I eventually found it wasn't the band I was looking for. It was I think it was Bone Thugs and Harmony, but I found a band called. I realized that the band was called Ministry, but I thought the song was called Ministry. Anyways, I'm because I think it was like BearShare or one of them. You could message the person that you were downloading it from, or one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I messaged this dude, and I was like, "Is this band rock?" And he just replied like 3 days later, like he goes, "It rocks to me."
Mm.
By the time I had found the song and shit, but I just thought that was funny.
I'm not
It was the only
sure.
person.
So it says here in the metadata, it says that this song is blues, and I don't know if that's because it's actually blues or because that's the default because it's the first one in the alphabet whenever this tags songs. But here, I'm gonna black the stream out real quick so I can go over to our DMs and send you this 54-second masterpiece.
54-second.
Uh,
Holy shit, dude! I didn't know Blues Creation was from the 60s and 70s. I thought it was just like a recent band
here you go.
that was just trying to look like they were from the 60s and 70s. But no, these dudes are from 71.
Yeah, 2003 album Dora Numa de Dance.
Am I holding like a relic?
Kind of. Part of one. You're holding a relic fragment.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of folky.
Yeah, it's just catchy. I don't know.
It is catchy. There's a little bit of ska in there, a little bit.
But yeah, so that was my adventure to Land of the Rising Sun and back via seeking out an old MP3.
Interesting. I just watched The Last Samurai the other day. Speaking of samurais and Japanese people.
The SNL skit by the same name as that band is pretty funny, by the way. It's kind of racist, but it's just like a delicatessen, and the guy walks in and orders a sandwich, and there's just like a really like on the nose samurai character running the shop. It's from like the 90s, I think. It's an older one.
I mean, that's usually when they were fucking good.
It might have been Mad TV.
I mean, Mad TV was hilarious too. And more consistently hilarious too, I think. Now, God, I don't even know what SNL is doing these days.
I mean, they're still doing the same stuff, but they haven't like. Oh, I didn't re-enable the stream. Whoops. They're doing the same stuff. It's just not as funny anymore because it's like lost. It's lost its novelty, and they're not like keeping up with it. They're not. The comedy isn't evolving with the times. It's just the same type of humor.
Who's that guy with the really annoying voice? The
Which
comedian. One? Fuck. That Gobert Guildfrey?
Oh, Gilbert Gottfried.
Gilbert, yeah, I had it backwards.
Yeah.
He was on Joe Rogan
Mm-hmm.
not too long ago, and he was talking about how he had worked on Saturday Night Live for a little bit and how just fucking shitty it was.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently it's just like a cutthroat political like battle. Like whereas like most comedic environments, it's usually pretty laid back because everyone's just trying to like
Everyone's
have
trying
fun.
to be funny. Yeah.
Yeah, but on this one, it's like everyone's trying to like undercut each other. Like you have to get like your ideas approved, but then sometimes they're like somebody else will be like, "No, dude, he just got a shitty idea. Don't just trust me. Just pick mine." It's like they're constantly backstabbing each other, And Gilbert was talking about, he was just like fuck this shit. This is lame as hell. And there's a lot of people who talk about it how it was that way. I don't think it used to be that way back in the day when like Chevy Chase and shit used to be on it, but now I guess it's
Yeah,
better.
imagine back when it was like Chris Farley and
Yeah,
all the
they're
classics.
probably just doing cocaine and shit. Well, I know for a fact Chris Farley was doing cocaine and shit. He was partying like hard 24/7. That's why he died so fucking early.
Did you ever watch Double Dare on Nickelodeon?
Yeah.
I read I'll see if I can find the link for you, but I read the most fascinating article that was like a handful of the original staff for Double Dare, and they were recounting the experience of creating and working on this show.
Yeah.
And so for one thing, the slime was extremely difficult to clean up. Like
I can imagine, yeah.
and it was sticky and it would get gross, like it would smell bad, and I guess at one point they changed everything up so where, because it was becoming so much time investment to clean up the building after each episode, that they just had like this big blue mat that they would roll out and then hose it off, do the show, hose it off again, and then just roll it back up and stick it in storage. And that was like a giant blue mat that covered like the whole floor. And I guess this thing got so gross that like if your bare skin touched it, you would get like a rash and like hives and stuff, because it was just this nasty, rotten, slime covered thing.
Apparently it was vanilla pudding.
Oh yeah, so
it was like a mixture of applesauce, green food coloring, vanilla pudding, and non-dairy creamer. So just shit would have just like turned almost immediately. Oh god! Can you imagine catching like a fucking 4-day-old batch of that shit just dumped on you? So it was literally slime.
Yeah. Nickelodeon slime. Who knew? Actual slime.
Yeah, for real. Now they use just like that, I don't know, whatever the fuck they use these days. The shit that looks like boogers.
I haven't watched a slime-related Nickelodeon show in a hot minute, so I don't know.
You watched Jackass the other day, dude? And you're in the scene where they all get jizzed on in the front?
Well, yeah, it's not exactly a Nickelodeon production.
Yeah, I'm just saying they think they've come a little bit. I think everyone looks back at Double Dare and remembers. Never use food grade fucking slime.
Double Dare and fucking Legend of the Hidden Temple.
Dude, I love that fucking show.
I wanted to be on that show so bad as a kid.
Me too. I can't remember. I think it was the Silver Monkey that I always rooted for. Apparently they're like rebooting it, or they did reboot it.
I think they rebooted Double Dare too at one point, and I don't think it lasted.
Yeah, because
it's not really people's thing anymore.
Well, I mean, I don't know, dude. It was just a 90s thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's when shit was the best.
Speaking of Jackass, as we were walking out of the theater, when we were both like, yeah, I think this scene was really good, and this was my favorite scene. Somehow we both collectively, in that moment, we both collectively completely forgot about the scene where they tricked the two guys into thinking they're in the dark room with the snake.
Oh yeah!
And then he goes into the room with all the fucking cast iron pans and shit hanging from the ceiling.
Fucking hilarious.
And the table of the fucking mouse traps and thumbtack, like it just kept escalating.
Yeah, because he was panicking, dude. Yeah. He was just like, oh, I gotta just jump over.
Yeah. That was fucking funny.
They didn't even. There was more to that room too. Like no one actually even made it through there. They just cowered in the corner.
I can't wait for the full like home video release of that, so we can see all the deleted scenes and. Because
they're gonna make a Jackass Forever like 2.5 or whatever, like they did with 2 and 3 and shit.
Which it's funny because of their format, like making things like that. It's just more Jackass movie. It's not deleted scenes. It's just
it's just more.
Yeah,
it's just I don't know. They probably have to check a lot of boxes for the theatrical release.
Yeah,
they're probably sitting on miles of footage. It's probably like shit they did to like celebrities and stuff that never made it.
If I had to work on the set of Jackass for a single day, I would have like lifelong trust issues. Like
I would just go in knowing that I'm gonna get betrayed. I don't know, man. They get paid a lot of money too, which helps. But yeah, I was kind of hoping Bam would be in it, but I guess Bam's kind of gone off the deep end.
Well, he went off the deep end, and then he kind of came back briefly, and then he disappeared again. I don't know what's going on with him.
I don't know, man. I feel like he never really wanted to do that shit in the first place, but he just kind of was like in it, and he just realized that, well, I might as well keep going with it.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch? Was it Bam Meets World? What was this show?
Well, there was Viva La Bam.
Viva La Bam. That's the one.
Yeah, I watched the shit out of that.
Yeah, I love that fucking show. Apparently, Don Vito was like a sex predator.
Yeah, I heard he was like a pedophile or something.
Yeah, I mean that
Yeah.
totally makes sense. That dude was fucking weird,
Yeah.
but hilarious to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
his
mean, at
poor
least he was.
family.
At least we can take solace that he was being constantly harassed. So
Yeah, he was living hell basically.
yeah,
Did you watch CKY?
never really watched CKY.
I only watched a couple. I think there were only movies that they had made, but that was basically just
More Viva La Bam.
Jackass. No, it was just Jackass. I think before Jackass was a thing.
Mm.
It was just them doing stupid, retarded shit. But Bam was in it, so that's how it started, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know why Bam got the spotlight with it though.
Yeah. By the time I moved to Washington from Arizona, not only did I not have a lot of access to TV upon moving, but that was like almost exactly the time that they stopped doing that type of show, like the skater mischief shows. Robin Big was, I think, the last big one.
I never watched too much Robin Big. There's a certain point in my life where I just stopped watching TV.
Well, that was that
And
point in my life.
that was pretty much, I think, around that point, I think it was right after I got into the military. And I realized I had an epiphany because my roommate got cable and we got internet with it. That I was like, why the fuck would I just watch this shit when I can go on YouTube?
Right.
And then I just never went back.
So I learned
And
how
then I
to...
called it too back then. I was like, listen, dude, they're going to fucking try and monetize it on here. And sure, we have Netflix, but it's just going to become like fucking, there's going to be a bajillion goddamn subscription services that we got to split up. We're just going to get fucked in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Just going to get fucked in a more convoluted way.
Yeah, a more complicated way.
So I learned how to operate a lift today.
What kind of lift? Like an elevator?
A scissor lift and a boom lift.
Huh.
The boom lift
Why?
was... Well, because we need the scissor lift from time to time to put up like wireless access points and shit like that, networking in the ceilings. The boom lift was just a part of the certification training. The boom lift was sketchy as fuck. Like that thing was floaty and it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, there's a weeb at work I told you about, and
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't fucking do anything. He doesn't lift a finger. He doesn't ever do anything other than sell shit in the store. And yeah, I guess he does it, but like trying to get him to do anything like sweep, he'll just go hide in the corner and play fucking Yu-Gi-Oh on his phone or some shit. It's frustrating. I'm like, dude, get up this fucking ladder and finish what you're doing. He's like, why don't you get up on the ladder? Because I was like, because I'm telling you to get on the ladder. And then thankfully the manager or the owner was there. And he was just like, quit being a pussy. Get on the ladder.
Got him. Speaking of weeb shit, a couple nights ago I was telling you about that anime that's kind of like Death Note. That's
Yeah.
Did I tell you the plot where there was like they were selecting a new god and all that shit?
Mm-hmm.
So it ended yesterday, and it had the dumbest fucking ending of any. That was the most disappointing ending of anything I've ever seen. Spoilers for the 0 viewers who are watching this that are big fans of Platinum End, but so the whole conflict towards the end was there was this scientist who was like, we need to not select a god because it doesn't do anything anyway, and humanity needs to stand on its own. And then somehow they convinced him. It was like, oh well, this kid's not gonna fuck with the world because he's just like a depressed, suicidal little kid, like 13-year-old. Let's just make him god. And then I can't remember the reasoning that convinced the scientists, but they all agreed on it. And so this kid becomes God and goes to heaven and merges with the consciousness of God. And then it's like, oh, I'm God now. And he's sitting there and he's looking out at the world and he's like, oh, look how happy everybody is. And he's like, but I'm still remembering when I was sad, so I'm gonna look at all the sad people. And so he brings up a bunch of little view windows in front of him of all the people on Earth who were like killing themselves. And then he gets real sad and then he just kills himself. And then all of the living things on Earth disappear because God just killed himself. And then that's it. That's the end. I was like, the fuck?
Wow.
Yeah. Like, it started with the youngest things first, so like all the plants died, and then all the babies disappeared, then all the children disappeared, and then so the scientist is just standing there looking out the window like, fuck, I was wrong. And they're just popping out of existence. And at the end, it's just like a shot of just a fucking gray, lifeless Earth. It's like, rip. Whoops.
Maybe you're just not getting the deeper meaning that's implied there, Harley.
The implied meaning is fucking don't make a suicidal 13-year-old God.
Yeah.
What the fuck's dumb idea was that?
Suicidal. But I mean, if you're God, can't you just like overwrite your suicidalness with the fact that you're God?
Apparently not in time to not kill yourself.
It just amplifies, so it's like a godly form of depression.
Well, because there was like God's consciousness, and then there was his, and they were like in the same body, and the head angel or whatever was like,
God's just like, no.
The head angel was like, well, you'll merge eventually. It'll just take time. And then God's like, you really shouldn't be doing this. And he's like, yeah, I'm doing it.
Fuck it. Wow.
Yep.
That's something.
Mm-hmm. So well, to all of you upcoming inspiring shonen anime protagonists who hope to eventually end your story by fighting God, please don't kill God. Negative consequences.
Yeah, man. I think he'd be pretty important to the whole grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
I remember watching when I was doing a lot of acid, I was looking up all these videos on acid and people doing acid and other drugs. And I got to one video that, the YouTube fucking black hole. And it was just like this, like the Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like that level of production as far as the stage, because it looked like it was shooting like a public access show. But it was just 3 or 6 people, 3 on each side. And they were talking, they were just like, every time someone would speak and they'd be like, hello, God. And he'd be like, I'm God. And he's like, and then they would go, we're all God. And it was just them like talking about the most like insane shit. But they believed that everybody was God and we're all God. And they felt like they needed to emphasize that every time anybody spoke. And they were doing a lot of acid. That's what I remember them talking about.
I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that your thought process is there is like, what am I going to do while I do acid? Oh, let's watch a bunch of videos about acid.
No, I wasn't on acid at the time. I was doing a lot of acid around that time.
Oh, okay, I see. I got you.
Normally when I did acid, I would just wander around my backyard.
I thought it was just
trees.
I thought this was just like your chill session scheme is just do acid, watch stuff about acid.
Lay on my bed, listen to Bob Marley and close my eyes and just like hallucinate. Play Guitar Hero. That was really fun.
Guitar Hero was just fun.
Yeah, but on acid though, holy shit, you felt like a rock star. Like I remember I felt really bad about this too, but one of my friends that I was partying with at the time, he's been trying to do acid his whole life, and I've been getting this shit like it was candy. And I mentioned it to him casually one night. He's like, "Oh, fuck, can you do it with me, man?" I was like, "Hell yeah, dude!" And I'm on acid, and I've been drinking. I was like, "Listen, this Saturday, this Friday, as soon as I get off work, I'm gonna have some acid. Just show up, and I'll give you a couple hits, like on the house." And I completely forgot about it. So I just went ahead and did acid anyways on the way home, which is like an hour and 45-minute drive. So on the way home, I'm peaking, and I get home and I just start playing Guitar Hero. And then I hear a knock on the door, which tripped me the fuck out. Because I was like, no one's supposed to be here. What the fuck? I go answer the door and it's Aaron. And I'm like, oh shit, I totally forgot. I'm already tripping balls. Like really tripping balls. And he's like, oh no man, no problem. And I give him some acid and we start playing Guitar Hero. And I remember like, it was like the weirdest ego trip that I think I've ever experienced in my entire life. Because normally I just sat there by myself, just mindlessly playing Guitar Hero. And now I had an audience member. while I was on acid. So I felt like in my soul, like I was giving a goddamn Guitar Hero level performance to this dude. And by the time it was done, like I was just like gushing. Like I was just like, oh my God, I'm so fucking awesome. And he's looking at me like I'm fucking crazy. And then it just hit me all of a sudden. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I just did that. And he's like, yeah, man, I think I'm just gonna go home and take it. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't be mad at you if you did that. It was so fucking awkward.
Oh, that's funny.
God damn.
What was I gonna say?
I should just show up at your house one day with some acid.
Oh yeah, the whole doing acid while watching acid videos thing. It reminded me of that Dave Chappelle bit where he's talking about smoking weed, and he's like, I only like to smoke weed with white people. Because if you smoke weed with black people, they start talking about their problems, they get all sad, and start talking about all the things that are wrong in the world. You smoke weed with white people, they just talk about other times they smoked weed.
Yeah, it's so fucking true too.
Dude, I remember this one time.
I remember that. I was just like, that's 100%.
Yeah,
that's a stereotype.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. I remember smoking weed. Because I would always go to like shady people's houses with friends to get the weed, and it was always different.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this one particular time, it was like a crack house, like a legit crack house. I remember coming inside, there's just a mattress that looks like somebody had like shat on it. It was just stained brown in one spot. And there was like this family sitting on it. There was like 3 teenagers, 2 adults, and 4 children, just all kind of cuddled up on this mattress, watching a TV that was sitting on a chair in the middle of the room. And they didn't even look at me. Like they like this is just must have been like a common occurrence. And then immediately adjacent to the left, there was a door with another like family unit in there, doing whatever. Like I just walked by and went, huh? And we went down in their basement, and we brought this guy with us that had never smoked weed before. Oddly enough, he went on to be a meth head, so he got hold of some of that somewhere.
Gateway drug.
But yeah. And we go down in the basement. There was this like 5 foot tall acrylic bong. And I don't know why you would need a bong that fucking tall. It seems ridiculous.
Novelty.
But we were smoking blunts in this basement with these 2 crackheads that I've never met before. I don't know. I don't even remember why we were there. And he was like casually, he would be holding the 5 foot bong in one hand. He would take a hit of the blunt, pass it on, and then he would just fucking pick up a lighter off the floor with his foot, light the bong. It's like he's having to stretch out and light the bar, like the bowl with his foot. But like he was been doing this his whole life, just hit it, and then he would pass it on to someone else. And then I'd be like, hey bro, can you light that one for me? I thought it was amazing.
I mean, it sounds amazing.
And then he burned himself halfway through. And then my friend took a bong hit and like freaked out. We had to leave. We got arrested like 3 days later with him.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, for some bullshit. We didn't even have any weed on. I was actually thinking about becoming a cop before that. I was like, yeah, I'll just get sobered up and then I'll just become a cop. It'll be great. And then I got arrested for some stupid shit. It was like the most long drawn out ordeal where the cops, the only reason why they were there is because people were stealing copper wiring from the city shops that was like down the road. And he just happened to see us in a pickup truck on a dirt road in some orchard somewhere.
So you hadn't even done anything wrong?
Well, we were smoking weed.
I mean, yeah.
But... Yeah. Well, we weren't doing anything wrong. And he knocks on the window, and we're in the back of the truck, which has got a canopy on it, and it's shut because we're hotboxing it. And he's just like, "You guys smoking weed in there?" And I was just like, "Oh fuck," because I was in the back. There's no way I'm gonna jump out of this thing and run away without this cop blasting me. So I was like, "Oh, we're fucked." And then my buddy's just like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Shut the fuck up. What the fuck are you doing?" And then he pulls the bag of shake out of his pocket with the bowl in it and just throws it in the middle and goes, "Guys, I can't get caught with this." I was like, "Oh my fucking
You just
God.
did.
You guys are fucking retarded." And then he calls like 6 other cops to show up. So there's like a dozen cops there for the four of us. Like I was the oldest one at 18. Or no, me, Martin, and Spencer, I think were the same age. There was one kid there. It was Brad, the same one I told you became a meth head. He he was the only one that was underage or a minor. So they just sit there for like 30 minutes. They're like, we're gonna make a project out of you.
Oh,
And
jeez.
fucking they took turns lecturing us on like how weeds put holes in your brain. It causes Alzheimer's. And I'm just like nodding and smiling the whole time. They're making jokes. Everyone's laughing except for me. And then this old guy, he's just like, yeah, well, I was like, listen, I live like 5-minute walk that way. I was like, I'm not even driving. You just let me go, whatever. And the old guy was like, well, if it was me, I would just let you go. But I wasn't the one who arrested you. And then the one that arrested us goes, nope, they're going to jail.
Oof.
It's like, fuck. And we went to jail. And I was proud because we were playing our DS's, Mario Kart, I think, when they arrested us. So I had Nintendogs in my pocket. And for some reason, I had put on like a pair of pants that was like way too small. It was like really tight. And so when I got there, they had a really hard time like getting into my pockets. They were like, Jesus Christ, man, these pants are tight. So they didn't get my DS game.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So like we were the first ones because they just threw us in the drunk tank. We were the first ones in the drunk tank. And then they put in some people that were being transferred from like Alaska somewhere. And one of them was like just the palest, pastiest white person I had ever seen. And he had just mastered the art of just falling asleep on command. And he would fall asleep with his eyes open, which was creepy. And then progressively throughout the night, more and more people came in, which none of them did anything wrong, apparently. And so us four were the only ones that had mats on the floor. So it just became a pile of dudes at one point. Like, I'm not even joking. It was just packed in pile of dudes. And this huge fucking fat black dude comes in about halfway through and immediately just takes the like squirtiest shit I've ever heard. And halfway through, he's just like, oh, peanut butter cups. Like I was just like, oh my God. And he shoves the fucking, like, he wipes his ass so much, he fills the toilet with toilet paper, flushes it, and it overflows.
Oh no.
And so I'm laying on this mat trying to sleep, and I'm not looking at him, but I hear the toilet overflow and come onto the floor, and I'm like, no. And I look over and I just see water like going past my mat, which is only an inch thick, but I'm like, all right, I should be good on this mat. And I just laid there on the floor, minding my own business, pretending to sleep, before they brought us food, quote unquote food.
Right.
And the other two frequent prisoners were like, they said it was amazing compared to prison food in Alaska. And then I saw a judge, and then they were like, yeah, we're going to charge you $1,400 and kick you out. I was like, fuck. And then I paid it off. And then told them I was going to join the Marines so they can get it off my record. And then they did. And that's how I got in the Marine Corps.
You should go back and say, now that weed's legal, give me $1,400 back.
That would be nice. Fuck. I was so goddamn pissed at those cops. I was like, you motherfuckers. I mean, I get why they did it. But
right. I mean,
yeah.
It was
so
illegal.
Like, fuck it. I got to do something. I'm just going to join the Marines.
That's not usually my damage control go-to, but
Well, I was literally like at a point, I got out of high school. My whole life, people were like, you got to figure out what you want to do when you grow up. And I never knew. I was just like, I have no fucking clue. I was like, I want to shoot guns. That sounds cool. And so I was like, a cop seems easier than being in the military. And I could stay here. But that got ruined for me. So I was like, I got to do something. My only regret is I didn't become an officer and join the Air Force.
That would have been cool.
Because I realized I was way too smart to be in the Marines. I'll be right back. I actually got to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Right.
So, what was I gonna say?
So,
Oh,
you
there we
didn't
go.
like Dune, huh?
I didn't dislike it. Like, it was a decent enough movie, but it just, maybe you guys just overhyped it, but like I was like, I don't see why this is a big deal.
Honestly, man.
Maybe if I was previously a Dune fan, it would have hit different. But
Well, I wasn't really a Dune fan. It was just you got to have the right setup. First of all, you got to watch it in 4K because I watched it finally in 4K, and there's so many scenes where it's like looking at like a massive scope of something
I might have
that
only watched it
there's things that are happening, like people, and you're like, oh, I didn't even know that person was fucking there. And you got to have really loud speakers because the sound is immaculate.
I'm trying to find it here. I might have only watched it in 1080p. Oh yeah, I only watched it in 1080p.
Yeah, it's that's why I wanted to watch it in 4K so bad, because I was like, no, I gotta.
Got some royalty-free lo-fi hip-hop going down.
Oh, nice.
Spice it up a little bit.
Yeah, on YouTube or
Yeah, it's just a YouTube video.
they got a lot of that shit on Spotify too.
I was gonna open up because have you ever heard of Soundtrack for Twitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna open that up, but I didn't want it to fuck with my streaming because I've had it mess up my audio before. So.
Some lo-fi shit to entertain our viewer.
I was gonna tell you a story. I thought of it while you were gone, and now I've completely blanked on it. Oh yeah, I got a second job interview with WSU Everett.
Yeah, you told me that.
I did.
Yep.
Yeah. I totally thought I bombed the first one, but I talked to Marshall tonight. He was like, "Yeah, no, it's everyone would it was a really weird reaction to after your interview because you hung up the Zoom call and we were all discussing and talking about it, and they were just like, yeah, his answers were really short, but they were all right." And I was like, well, your questions were all too simple. Like, and I couldn't, like, you're like,
Yeah.
you asked me if I knew how to balance audio or if I could explain what balancing audio is. And I was like, I don't know if I can dumb it down further than that. Like, you make one thing not too much louder than the other. Like,
I mean, that's exactly what it is.
yeah.
Keep
And then-
things the same
And then,
level of dB.
yeah, Marshall told me, he was like, well, I guess I guess at first they had a point of contention was that I didn't have any questions for them because the end of a job. Well, you said you haven't done a job interview.
Well, I mean, I've done job
Well, I mean,
interviews.
at the end they're like, well, do you have any questions for us? You forget that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't have any questions for them because I didn't have any fucking questions for them. And Marshall told them, they were like, yeah, he didn't have any questions for us. And Marshall's like, yeah, because he's worked at WSU for 6 years. He
Right?
kind of knows the shtick.
See, I hate that shit about interviews, man. And honestly, like, I've interviewed at a handful of places,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned that I have to tone myself down because I can be too real for people. I guess you can call it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I try to make jokes and shit like that, and I realize that these people are just like being super serious about it.
Right.
And once you've been in a room with like a sergeant major who's like yelling at you as loud as he fucking possibly can,
Mm-hmm.
like you're not really intimidated by anybody anymore.
Right.
Like, especially in the interview process. So I realized that I was intimidating them by just the way I was. Like, I remember I got interviewed once in San Diego to work at Target
Mm-hmm.
by this kid that was younger than I am, and he was like, he's like, so if you had a team of people underneath you, and you were responsible for getting them to do their job right, like, how would you do it? And I was like, well, I'd probably just start yelling at everybody as loud as I could, and then I started laughing, and then I realized, I was like, oh wait, he doesn't get that joke. Shit. That was the whole interview.
So you didn't get the job then?
No, I didn't get the job, but I knew as soon as I walked out, I was like, oh, I came in a little hot on that one.
Yeah.
I was like, I should probably just. And then after that, like, I've only interviewed a handful of times, but there's a way to get around the interview process for like a lot of jobs, and that is to meet the manager or the person that's going to be doing the hiring and talking to them before you even apply. like anytime that I've needed a job, except for that time at Target, which I mean I admittedly fucked up. But anytime after that, I go in, I just make sure I don't look like shit, and I go, "Can I speak to your hiring manager? You know, I'm interested in looking for a job." And then I just have a conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like, "Oh yeah, you know, I worked over here. I just moved here. Sometimes I'll just make up some bullshit." And I'm like, "I'm just looking for a job. If you're hiring, blah blah blah." And then they're just like, "Yeah, you know, just apply online or whatever." And I'm like, "Cool." And then I'll keep in contact with them. And then by the time it's in, they're already expecting me and know who I am. So they'll just pick it out. And I've always just be like, "All right, can you just start Monday?" Blah blah. Basically, just want to fill out the psyche eval that those corporate fucking job applications give you to make sure I'm not crazy.
Yeah, I don't think you can really get around interviews for state jobs. They're kind of strict about a lot of things.
Yeah, they gotta be.
I didn't interview at Klein's. I didn't even meet the boss until like 3 days after I started working there. Like my friend Zach, I guess Joel, the boss there, he was just like, "Yeah, go find somebody. We need another person." And then Zach offered me the job. I was like, "Yeah, okay, I need a job." And nice. Then I met him there on a Friday, and he was like, "All right, here's some T-shirts. This is the shop. Be in 8 o'clock on Monday," and that was it.
That basically was the job I have now.
Mm-hmm.
Which, dude, I want to fucking. I gotta look for another job.
Not doing it for you, huh?
No, it's CJ, the guy who hired me, my friend. He's the only, because I work for him, kind of. He's the only one that's competent, and he's able to like affirmatively like direct action in others. Because if it's anybody else, it's like there are 3 different people all sort of competing for bidding over how or what the job will look like when it's done. And this is something as simple as fucking painting the front counter.
Right.
I'll hear one thing from my boss, and then I'll be like, "All right, is that what the owner wants?" He's like, "Yeah, that's what the owner wants." And I was like, "Is that what Marcus' crew knows what to do?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know." And I'm like, "All right, I'm going to paint this front counter, but I can assure you that somebody's going to fuck it up." And I was right 3 for 3 on that particular thing. And now CJ's quitting because he's tired of the bullshit too. And I'm like, well, I have no reason to stay here anymore. So I got to find another job. But I can't because I just bought a new car. I can't just quit because I bought a new car. Right. But I am just leasing it, so I guess I could just return it. But yeah, this job, I literally just walked in and he was like, "Hey, let me show you around. I'll hire you for a week and see if you're good enough, and then we'll go from there." I was like, "Huh, all right, I could dig it." But my manager is also incompetent, and he'll constantly come up to me to bitch about all the things that everybody's doing wrong. And I'm like, "Have you tried, telling that to the people that are doing the things wrong?" Like, right. Like I get you're upset, but like, why are you fucking telling me?
This is a fairly minor thing, but we had to write our annual self-reviews last week at work.
You had to write yourself a review?
Yeah, so we get a list of questions that we have to answer, basically. That's like, here's my performance for the last year, would I change anything, that kind of stuff. And one of the things I put on there, like, for the most part, it's kind of, in my job, it's kind of hard to answer most of those questions, because, like, you just kind of take things as they come. It's help desk, so, you're limited in your lofty goals for the future.
I want to help the president.
I want to help the president. But one of them was, would you change anything? And I put on there, like, this is the only one that I was super forward about. I was like, stop assigning me the tickets for the computer replacements. Because every time one comes in, it's like, hey, I want my computer replaced. And that gets assigned to me, and then it just bloats my ticket queue. And so it says that I have like 30 open tickets where everybody else has like between 2 and 4. And so it looks like, oh, Harley just doesn't do anything. He just keeps getting assigned tickets and never finishes them. And it's like, yeah, because I get this computer replacement request. It sits in my queue for like 6 months while we wait for computers to be ordered. And then somebody picks it up while I'm like not there. And then nobody tells me about it. So the ticket's just there forever.
That sounds like an inefficiency.
Well, it just makes me look bad because.
Well, yeah, I know exactly how you feel with that one.
Yeah.
Hey, I at this job at this point, like I just don't give a shit anymore. Like I'm getting a paycheck to do work for this company.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't fucking care if it's costing whatever the work I'm being told to do is costing them tens of thousands of dollars more than it should.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't give a shit. And life is a lot easier now because of that. But now that he's leaving, it's going to become less bearable because they had to go through him to come to me, and he was smart enough to be like, "That's stupid. He's not going to do that."
Yeah.
So now I just have to tell them this is stupid. I'm not going to do that until they try to fire me, which they've already tried to do, by the way, for something that wasn't even remotely close to what I had done.
Right. This was the spray painting the floor thing, right?
And no, it was half spray painting the entire room without taping anything off.
Right.
And then half melting the floor with acetone and Gooby Gone. That was the cherry on. That was the thing that pushed me up, because it was like my second day at work, and there's just this big fat gorilla looking motherfucker with a bullet wound in his skull, so there's like this huge indentation.
Jesus.
In it. And he's telling me, you guys didn't tape off the floor yesterday, so this is all, you guys got to clean it off now. And I was like, I didn't do shit. And then he's telling me I'll do this stuff, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna paint all these walls again. And I was just like, why? Why are you going to paint the walls we've already painted? We painted 3/4 of the room, and you want to paint the entire room again? I just kind of walked around. You know that John Travolta meme where he's just kind of like confused, just kind of gesturing?
Yeah.
Like that's what I did the whole day. Just like I don't understand. I was going up to CJ and Pierce going like, do you guys understand what's going on or why? And then I went and talked to the dude who was telling him to do it. And I was like, so you want him to paint the whole room, even though we painted 3/4 of it? He's like, no, I just want him to paint like a couple parts of the room. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then I go talk to the guy that painted the room, and I was like, he only wanted to do this. And I was like, he was like, no, he just told me to do the whole room again. And I was like, what the fuck?
Now that's inefficiency.
Dude, it would have been a 2.5 day project of painting, and it turned into 2.5 months. And we're just now getting the room set up again. And another thing that happened too in that room was that they had to tear some of the paper off the wall because one of the guys had dinged up a spot, and it was like an old thick wallpaper. So they decided to take the whole thing off, so we had to repaint the whole wall again. And then they took the false ceiling down, and then they put up drywall. So we had to paint again around the entire room. And then they decided to polish the concrete floor, but instead of hiring a crew to do it, they decided to do it themselves. But they didn't do it right because they were on their phones the whole time, because you just got to slowly push this machine around the room. And the first time they did it, they didn't have the vacuum machine that sucks all of the concrete dust into this bag.
Yeah.
So it was just like a tempest of concrete dust in the room. So everything in the store has like Mount St. Helens level of ash like everywhere on it. We're still cleaning it off. Yeah, it's just been just a running, just like a snowball of just retardation.
So the funny story about those floor polishing machines. We used to have a facilities manager at WSU. She quit 4 or 5 years ago. But she hated us. She managed facilities and the custodians, and she told the custodians not to ever come into our office and clean it, among various other things. But there was one time that we were having a meeting with all of like the higher ups in like WSU IT management, and it was in the Wine Science building in like that main atrium with all the glass windows. So it was like a luncheon, and just talk about IT security stuff, things like that. And everyone knew about this. It was highly publicized. And this manager at the custodians chose the exact time of our lunch to have all of the custodians come and polish the floor in that room with their loud ass floor polishers. So we're just sitting there with like these really important IT people within the system, and then there's just somebody who walks by wearing like a pair of headphones. They look like a janitor in like a comedy movie, just like yeah, just slowly like right behind him. The guy's like trying to like shout over the top of him.
Wow.
It was like such a dick move.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I kind of want to just invite people to work with me just so they can see and share in the glory
Do it
of
right
this stuff.
along.
Because this is stuff I'll be talking about for the rest of my life. Like, I'm like literally on the verge. Like, and so I've been documenting this whole journey, by the way.
Mhm.
And I've been exploring. I'm not up to date on OSHA, like, protocol, but I used to work in hazmat in the Marine Corps, which is the same thing. It goes
Yeah.
off OSHA. And we had to be really strict with that shit. And so I know that the level of attention that's needed for chemicals, because we've got tons of chemicals in the back,
Mhm.
and we have a room filled with chlorine, the concentrated chlorine pellets, shit like that. And it's supposed to be vented outside, but there's just like this room in the corner, and it's got a sliding glass door, and it doesn't go all the way to the ceiling. It just kind of goes up. The ceiling's like 20 feet high. This room's only like, 8 feet high.
Mhm.
There's no ceiling to it. It's just open to the air. And so, like, I'm half tempted to just go to OSHA and teach this fucking stupid business owner a lesson, because there's probably like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of fines that we could have just glancing around the building.
It's
So I'm
not
pretty
hard
sure some of these chemicals are like, you cannot expose them to like oxidation, or they're extremely oxidizing. And some of the other chemicals, if they react with them, will literally just explode. But
Yeah.
there's no fire extinguishers anywhere, nothing.
Still
So,
can't-
but if I report them to OSHA, I'm protected. They can't fire me.
Yeah. I still can't believe they left a propane tank open and then fell asleep.
Yeah. They fucking left a propane tank that's leaking inside the store and then slept in the store.
I'm pretty sure
So
that's
that told me that they're just retarded.
yeah. I'm pretty sure that story prompted me to tell you about a time that somebody left an acetylene tank open at school. Did I tell you that?
Yep.
Okay. Making sure. I just still remember it so viscerally, just sitting in English class, and just like thump, and everything shakes, and everybody's like, "The fuck was that?" Oh, that was just Matt. He blew up the machine shop.
So I'm like this close to like scuttling the business. Like, seriously. But like, if the owner tries to pull some shit and I just don't want to do it, I'm gonna be like, listen, dude, I don't want to do this, and if you make me do it, I'm just gonna report you to OSHA.
Yeah,
I told
sitting on a pretty big stack of violations.
I keep telling my manager, I'm like, listen, dude, I used to work hazmat in the Marine Corps, and I can tell you right now that if OSHA were to walk in this building, it would be shut down. It would just be done. So, I don't know. There's some people there that are kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to fuck them over, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't really give a shit.
A few years ago, we redid our cubicle walls, and all of our computers are now like facing the cubicle walls instead of facing the actual walls, and so you have to get like power and networking thing propagated throughout the cubicle walls. And there's a string of like 5 power strips like chained together under my cubicle and the one next to it, like zip tied to the bottom of the desk. And I was like, our campus safety officer must never see under this desk at all costs.
Right. So at the Uptown, it's a pretty old, I mean, it dates back to when Hanford was being built.
Mm-hmm.
And I think before that, it was like it wasn't on a military base, but it was like a part of like the military base's like rec areas or something. It's pretty old.
Uh-huh.
And so, like the buildings are kind of like this labyrinth of like weird connected like hallways and shit. And like they used to be connected in one spot, but now there's a wall there. So you share the plumbing with like somebody above you and off to the side. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
But there's one particular store. I'm not going to say which store it is because it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But it has got like the hub for all of the electricity for like half of the Uptown. And there's a meter in the back for the store, But literally, when the city electrician or whoever the fuck walks in, I know this because I know someone that works in the store. He literally like has to do this when he walks into the room.
Oh no!
Like every single time, because it's just this horrific like cobweb of fucking like wires going through like these circuit breakers and shit that just lead all over the place in the uptown.
I went into that antique shop on the corner right behind Adventures.
Yeah.
For the first time a couple weekends ago. The place was neat. Everything's way too expensive, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's how they stay. That's how they stay open.
They sell one thing and that pays.
They sell it. Yeah, I've been in there too, and it's all broken down. It's all broken down by like types of things, and then you can rent out space in it. That's another thing. How people.
Yeah, each stall is a different vendor.
Yeah, so like they just get like rent money basically. Yeah. I've been inside their store a couple times because we share a wall with them. And yeah, Uptown's crazy, dude. I tried talking to my boss today again. I was like, listen, dude, if you can give me like full time in your store doing anything, then I will quit my stupid pool job today, take the pay cut, and work for you. But apparently, because the POS system's like not connected to the actual, so there's like the credit card machine and then our POS system,
right?
Which is hand programmed by the owner. She made the whole thing, so it's kind of jank. But you have to like scan all the items, find the total, and then enter it in the credit card machine. So there's like a step that leaves room for error,
right?
And like half of the store isn't able to ring people out anymore because they've made mistakes during that one step, including me. So it's just like we're trying to tell her like we gotta fucking figure this shit out.
Yeah.
Like all the other stores, there's no room for error. It's all there. You scan it, it goes in. Ta-da.
To be fair, it would be a huge pain in the ass to do a complete inventory of Adventures Underground.
So, yeah, you are 100% correct. But we've done it once. And can you guess when we did it?
It's either very recent or it was an extremely long time ago.
It was right when the pandemic happened.
Oh, jeez.
And the store was technically closed down for like 7 or 8 months. I worked there. I actually had a lot of hours at the time because I was constructing shit. Because she got a huge grant, at the time. And so she was like, hell yeah, you guys can come back to work if you want. So we did. And I built a stage. I built a bunch of tables. But while we were doing that, they were also inventorying the store. And I don't know how much shrink she had, but it could not have been less than like $50,000 worth of shit. That had just because she hadn't. It was like 13 years at the time, but she'd never inventoried her store. Like we were constantly coming up with like items that are supposed to be there, but we last checked them in like 2013.
You said you had to stay late because you were doing a plumbing thing in the cafe there?
Yeah, I'm basically like their handyman for the store, so anytime they need anything to be fixed, they call me.
Fucking hate plumbing. Like I'll work with electrical, I'll work with drywall, I'll work with anything except I fucking hate plumbing.
I fixed I put a new faucet in my sink today. On top of that, I was like, I guess it's just a plumbing day. I've had to deal with so much plumbing bullshit since I moved into this house that I've just become like a journeyman plumber, I feel like.
I should have paid you to redo my sprinklers whenever I needed that done.
Oh, you're talking about irrigation.
Well, no, I mean, in that context I am, but I mean, I hate any plumbing. I hate pipes that have liquids going through them.
I mean, I don't enjoy them because they always fuck up, and when they fuck up, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, we had our... Oh my god, that reminds me. So, there's an access valve behind our washer and dryer. You just put this cap that you can just take off, so if you need to snake it, you can, without having to go through your sink or some shit. But... the motherfuckers that installed the plumbing in the house decided to just like bend the pipes coming out of the wall directly over top of it. So there's just two of these as a hot water and cold water pipe just like bent at this gradual angle. Looks like they literally just kind of bent them with their hands around it so that they're literally sitting on top of the valve. So I would have to cut the hot and cold water pipes over that to get
Yeah.
access to it. So anytime I want to do anything, I have to go through the access port in the underneath the patio in the backyard, which is like 4.5 feet underground for some fucking reason. It's deep as fuck. Normally it's only like a foot or two.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found this out when we were having huge problems backing up the water down there.
Yeah.
They didn't install the house pipe correctly with the drainage pipe. They just shoved the house pipe down the drainage pipe
Mm-hmm.
and just left it there. So there's like, when I first looked at it, it was just this like Elden or like Erd tree sized fucking root network
Yeah.
coming around this pipe.
That's the way that the main drainage for my old house was right before I moved, and we had to get it completely like cleaned out because it kept backing up and flooding the basement.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to see the sump in that bathroom in the basement?
No, I just got to see your Doom bathroom down there.
Yeah, so fucking there was nothing okay with that bathroom. Like there was that little tiny weird ass toilet that would never stop flushing.
Yeah, dude, bathrooms and basements are just I don't think a good idea.
But so there was a sump that was for everything that ran water downstairs. And not only was it leaking and just going straight into the ground, but it wouldn't turn on. It had this 2-part electrical system where there was like, if it was plugged into power, it was always on, and then like that plugged into like an intermediary piece that would plug in, and then that went to a float, and the float was fucked up, and so it would never trigger the sump to turn on. And
I bet that shit was nasty.
That sump was, if you open up the bathroom vanity, there was a wooden panel that was like custom cut to fit around all the edges, and you'd pull that up, and then like 5 feet down in this black hole, there's just the sump sitting there at the bottom of like spider webs in this hole. And it was
how
like,
big was the sump?
Maybe this big.
Oh, okay.
It was like, this is gonna be a bitch to replace.
Yeah.
Turned out we only needed to replace the float, so that was fortunate, but it was still kind of expensive.
Yeah, I could see why you hate plumbing. I kind of hate plumbing too a lot.
Yeah.
I just know how to deal with it now.
But a lot of times the basement wouldn't actually flood. It would just fill up that utility sink down there. And so somebody would be taking a shower upstairs, and you'd be sitting there upstairs, and then suddenly there's just this smell of sewage. It's like, the fuck is that? Oh, the sink's fucking filling up again.
Oh, dude. We would, for like, because we've been in this house for like 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And the first 2 years that we lived here, I'm not quite sure if the hot water pipe underneath the addition bathroom was already broken when we moved in, or it broke that one crazy winter we had where it was shitting snow like nothing that we've ever seen.
Yep.
But the hot water pipe was cracked underneath the slab, and so when you'd run the hot water, it would leak under the linoleum, and so it would leak like to like vast regions that weren't anywhere near the leak. Like it would leak out into the living room, it would leak out like into my dad's room, and it took us fucking forever. Like I busted open the wall trying to figure out if it was leaking from there. No, it was just a crack in the concrete that, you know, the hot water pipe was leaking. So for like 2 years it just sat there empty. Then the old asbestos pipe that was leading from our house to the street, or it was a concrete pipe, I can't remember. It had roots grown into it from a tree that used to be in the backyard.
As they do.
It took us forever to get rid of. Thankfully, our neighbor is like a contractor, so we just paid him to do it because he knew what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had the root problem with the fucking. But like every once in a while, like we would know that we were getting backed up because you just go like take a shit or piss, and the toilet would just be like bloop, 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 and it would just start bubbling up shit.
Yeah, for the longest time that float still kind of worked, and we hadn't really thoroughly troubleshooted the problem with a plumber, so we didn't know exactly what the issue was. But you could like brute force it into working. Like if the sink was full of water, you could go and turn on like the sink in the bathroom and then flush the toilet, and eventually like enough commotion would get it to just like, it would pop on and you would hear it whirring, and then all of the shit water in the sink would just like down into the drain. Like, it was like aggressive.
That reminds me of the plumber, because we, through our insurance, we'd had to go through like very specific plumbers,
Mm-hmm.
and there was only one in Richland, and they were incompetent, like they didn't know what they were doing. And I mean that literally in the sense that we were like, this pipe keeps leaking. You came out here, it made it worse, and then so they were like, all right, we're gonna jet it. So they have a jet machine, but they showed up and neither of them know how to use it,
Oh, jeez.
and it didn't have any gas in it, so they had to go get gas, and they jet our fucking line,
Mm-hmm.
just blast fucking high powered water down our pipe, and then just packed up and left.
Hmm.
We didn't even know that they were done. They just left, and then they must have cleaned out a significant portion of the line that there was going from our house, because or they just like over pressurized the rest of the sewage line,
Mm-hmm.
because what happened was like it immediately after they left backed up and we couldn't get any drainage to it. And I opened up the thing and I looked down and it was like, it wasn't like, poopy water. It was like mud. It was like shit, but
Yeah.
mud. And it was just like, we couldn't get it out. We couldn't, like, because sometimes I would just plunger the thing and it would just get it free, but no. So we had to hire an actual plumber who took one look at it and then realized like, yeah, they just like overpressurized the line and it just backed up and you're fucking like all the blocks like worth of shit was just pushed up into ours or something. And he just like, he had one of those bladders. Have you ever seen him? It's just like it looks like a dildo, a rubber dildo, a fat rubber dildo. And they just shove it in the pipe. You put it on the end of a hose and it fills up. And it has like one tiny little hole that it squirts water out of. So it'll balloon up and it'll balloon up in the pipe and then squirt water out this side, and it just kind of gradually pushes all the shit down.
Mm-hmm.
And he just left it in there for like 5 minutes and then pulled it back out, and then everything flowed smoothly. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? That's all that I needed to do? And so I went to like Ace and I bought like a $5 pipe bladder. And then every time it would clog, I would just shove it down there.
It was really interesting to watch whenever they were, they had a little camera and they were going through the pipe, because they got like all the way out to the street and it was really fucking far, and so just like watching their little camera just inside the pipe, like tiny little trickle of water running down the pipe, even though we have like full sinks on and everything. Like,
yeah, they said that it wasn't covered underneath our insurance, so they couldn't do it. So I literally got a broom handle and I taped my phone to it, turned on the flashlight, recorded in 4K, and just put it down there,
mm-hmm.
and just looked in both directions.
You
And
were
I was
afraid
like,
of your
okay.
phone falling off?
No, I duct taped it to the pole. But I mean, there was a little bit of a fear to it. I didn't want to get poop water on it.
Fair enough. One day way back when, I still have a video of this on YouTube, but before I was able to afford the luxury of owning a GoPro, I wanted to do like just a first-person driving video just for kicks. And so I took 2 zip ties, and my phone case was ever so slightly squishy around the edges, and so I just zip tied it to the grill of my car, with the camera on. Like, and I couldn't touch the screen after it was on there, so I had to turn the camera on and then zip tie it, and then just pray it would still be there whenever I got to my destination. And so I drove from my friend Zach's house to Dutch Bros, and then it was still there, and it was a cool video.
Wow.
I was like a poor college student at the time, so if I'd lost my phone, I would have been fucked. But I was like, that seems like it's reasonably on there.
Right? Dude, I remember getting the first iPhone.
I started with the iPhone 3, specifically 3GS.
And then I got the iPhone 2. And I remember one night it was raining in San Diego, and I went to a bowling alley.
Mhm.
And then as we were leaving, it fell out of my pocket and landed in a puddle.
Oh,
And I came back because I eventually thought, this is the only place I've been. So they said that they'd found a phone in the parking lot in a puddle,
mm-hmm.
and it had been there for like 6 hours.
Oh.
And I was like, shit, well, that phone's toast. And I
Yeah.
took it, and it turned on.
Hmm.
It like worked. And I was like, huh. And then I just put it in a bag of rice, left it overnight, and it worked, but the speaker was broken, but the phone worked. Then I got a Droid and I never went back.
Yeah, I got the iPhone 3GS, then I got the iPhone 4, and then after that I got a Samsung S3, and it changed my life.
Yeah. But I remember having to jailbreak my fucking phone to customize it.
Mm-hmm.
And the tedium that went into that, and then I just was like, wow, I can just do this on Android.
I actually made my iPhone 4 into a smartwatch at one point. Yeah. I jailbroke it, and I got like one of those on those shoulder things for joggers, and I just would wear it on my wrist. Looked dumb as hell. But yeah, no, my 3GS, that was a piece of fucking work, because sometimes you would unlock the screen, and then you just couldn't. You had no touch functionality at all whatsoever, and there was nothing you could do to get it back except take your thumb and put it on the bottom of the screen and push down real hard and then drag it up the screen, and then the touch would start working again.
Weird.
Yeah. I don't know if the 4 had any problems. I think that was that iPhone was the few phones that I had that just never had a weird quirk.
I can't remember what Droid it was, but I think it was one of the first ones where it was a perfectly flat back, because before the camera like top part stuck out.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always prized myself in taking care of my phone. Mm-hmm. I've only ever broken one screen, or technically 2 screens on my phone. One was because I had to take it out of my case to fit it into my gimbal to shoot a video. And right as I took it out of my case, it slipped out of my hands and landed around the corner in a puddle and cracked the screen.
Of course.
I got the screen replaced, but the first time it ever happened was I had put in the key to my house inside the case of my phone because I didn't have a keychain at the time, and so it was literally just like there's this little bulge in the back of the rubber case, and I remember getting out of bed one morning and it fell off my bed, and I was in the barracks, and it landed like perfectly flat on the back, because I remember watching it just smack against the floor and just be motionless, and I was like, oh shit. And I pick up my phone, and right in the middle of the screen where that key was, it had cracked the LCD or whatever, and it started like that whole the spot of doom started to grow.
Right. I had the LCD in my car do that. Like my previous Lancer has a little red LCD screen that shows you your gas mileage and stuff, little square. And at one point it just got a dead pixel on it, or a stuck pixel because it was on when the car was on, and then that just started like snaking outwards in like this branching pattern until like almost this whole screen was almost unreadable. And I almost expected my new one to do the same thing, but it just never did. Anyway, so I still have my iPhone 4. It's funny because the full screen of this is the same size as a YouTube video on my current phone. That's not full screen,
right? Dude, it was only a couple years ago that people were still using those like tiny little old iPhones, and I was just like, God damn, those things are fucking small.
I liked the iPhone a lot more before the 5, where they made like the long one.
Yeah, I have an S20 Plus, and the only thing I hate about these fucking phones is the curved screen on the edges. I don't like them. I think they're dumb.
Yeah,
and it makes for putting like screen protectors on there hard.
Yeah, mine also has the curves, and it's like it makes it weird to touch things that are near the edge of the screen.
It does, because it's like, where does the touch end?
Yeah.
What phone do you have?
Pixel 6 Pro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually can't. I can't follow somebody on TikTok without like going to their page and hitting their actual follow button, like the little circle with the plus on their profile icon. I can't touch that.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I had the S8 Plus before this, and it had even a more exaggerated screen curve. And that was, I think, the first time they had tried that gimmick. And I immediately was like, this is neat, but totally pointless. And now, and I remember not being able to touch stuff on the edge of the screen.
I had one of the exploding Note 7s, and that had had curves on the edge. But that one was touch sensitive, weirdly. So
yeah.
The one thing that I miss about the iPhone, other than the headphone jack, is this little switch. Come on, focus.
You gotta get your whole hand up there. Yeah.
This little switch where you could switch between vibrate and sound being on, like it's a physical clicky switch.
Oh wow.
Like that's my favorite feature of the iPhone. I wish all phones had that still.
I wish this phone had a goddamn fucking headphone jack in it.
Yeah,
And the other thing is like, so the S20 Plus was like one of the most powerful phones, and it still is like one of the most powerful phones. The 21 and 22
Mhm.
have, like, it's gotten to the point, I think, where the tech is like peaked, and it's like, what more can you do with it? Because the specs for the next generation phones are actually sometimes worse than the S20.
Yeah.
It's like they backed it off because they were like, we didn't need this much horsepower underneath the hood.
Well, I think the bottleneck there, the limiting factor, is batteries.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, battery technology isn't progressing as fast as like microchip technology, and so you can only put so much power in before it's impractical.
That's the only reason why I got the Plus. I mean, I do like a bigger screen, but it is kind of annoying that this thing is so big sometimes. But I got it because of the bigger battery. But I'm really impressed with the way that this thing functions, because it'll still, I've had this thing for like a year, on high performance mode, no battery saving, it lasts all day. But if I put it on battery saving mode, it lasts like 2 to 3 days. And it charges in fucking like 45 minutes.
Yeah, mine will last about a day and a half in just like normal mode.
Yeah.
Through like normal use. If I'm playing like a mobile game or something, it won't. But speaking of mobile
And I have
games,
this.
you're talking about. Well, no, I'm just.
Shadow Legends.
No, you're just talking about like the horsepower and stuff phones have. I was really surprised that the mobile version of Genshin Impact works. Like, it's a shit game. I wouldn't play it, but I tried it out to see if it would work on my phone, and it runs fantastic. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is more powerful than any console that we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a adapter for my PS4 controller where I can basically just have it hooked up, and I have Nintendo 64 games. They're starting to put retro games on to Android natively, like Symphony of the Night, Castlevania, and it plays them better than they were before. I mean, I personally, I'll every once in a while I'll get on the App Store and I'll look at the games, and they're just trash. All of them are trash. They're just money grabbing schemes. That's all they are. Yeah. I've searched and searched for like good mobile games, and I have not been able to find any that weren't already games before, like on a PC or console.
Yeah, the one I'm playing right now has this really fucking irritating problem where it. So there was a 3 GB update last night, and ever since that update, I can't fight bosses in it because the way the battles work, there's three phases to each battle. Like, you'll fight a group of enemies, and then you move on to the next one, heal a little bit, fight another group of enemies, and at the end of each like series of maps, you'll have like the third phase will be a fight against a boss. And in this latest update, it's broken so that like the screen transition from phase 2 to 3 just does this like rushing past thing, and it just continuously does that. The timer stops going down, the boss still takes damage, but it's just like maximum overdrive.
Bro. That's the other thing with mobile games, is that there's so many goddamn phones that you're not quite sure if you're going to get like the one that works for your version of it.
I have this problem with my tablet and my phone, so it's...
Well, yeah, half the games... Dude, there was a game made by Telltale Games. The guys who did Walking Dead and shit.
Yeah.
They made a Game of Thrones game.
Yes.
But it won't run on any of my fucking devices. It runs on my old Samsung Galaxy Tab A2 or whatever, but it won't work on my phone or my tablet, and it's a really good game. It like requires you to pay for every episode that comes out. There's like 8 episodes, and it like takes you through the story of like a minor house in the north. It starts you at the Red Wedding, and then like you're a survivor of it, and you're having to like struggle underneath the rule of Ramsay Bolton, and then like one of the brothers of the families that it's called the Forrester House Forrester, and then the brother of the lord of that house is in Essos in a mercenary company, so you like switch back and forth between them, like the guy in Essos is trying to get good with Danny so that he can like go with her, and eventually he comes back and they like try and save the house. It was so fucking good, but I can't play it anymore. I highly recommend it. Actually, it's actually a really solid game.
You know what I really, really wanted to play with all of you guys, and then it turned out to be a fucking single player game, was have you seen This Land Is My Land?
Yep.
Yeah, it looks cool as shit, but it's single player.
It does look cool as shit. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I gotta let my dog out.
One of these days we should do a podcast where we do a tabletop session.
Dude, I'm fucking all about that shit, man. Like I've been trying. I've only been doing tabletop stuff for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I've like it was like one of those things like, where have you been my whole life? And I want to do something like a podcast, or I even started a brief YouTube channel. I don't know, did I ever show you that intro that I made to a YouTube channel that I was thinking about?
Mm-mm.
Let me show you that real quick. Because now that I've kind of trimmed the chaff, as I guess you could say, from my friend group for gaming, I'm looking for like a solid core group. And I think I'm starting to get one. I got Calvin, his wife, and my neighbor. But I'm just looking to like I'm going to be very picky now with who I bring in.
Right.
I just want people who are just competent, sane adults, I guess is what I'm looking for.
Well, that's unfortunate because you attract the opposite sort.
No, I don't attract them. I just realized that I gotta be a little more picky about who I hang out with. Because this video I worked really hard on. I kind of rushed at the end a little bit. Dude, I don't even know where this fucking video is. Footage. Well, do I have to open up? Oh my god, I gotta organize my shit better. It's not an. I have an NFT madness folder for when I was making those fucking NFTs, which I still have a fucking shitload of them. I just can't upload them all. Social media, podcast, nope. Graphics, an After Effects folder. Hold on, I think I can open it up in Premiere Pro. But yeah, we should. There's a couple ones that we can do that are pretty simple. We don't have to like do a legit D&D session, but we can. Because honestly, I think I do better when I just run one-offs.
I'd be down to do a one-off. I just never know what kind of character to make.
I always just make whatever I feel like.
Let me rephrase that. I don't like having to roll a character. Like,
why?
I don't know.
That's usually like the most fun part.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Yeah, grumble, humbug, and all
that. Bitcoin, D&D? No, this can't be D&D. I'm kind of bummed now. It's probably buried in some bullshit fucking spot. Oh, yep, that's not gonna work. Oh, no, I want to show you this because you're gonna see it. I know it's here somewhere. Incarnate has the logo. Patreon. Is it in here?
Scientists reveal the speed of sound on Mars is strangely different. Is it?
Yeah, it's because the density of the atmosphere is only
I
like
know.
4% of ours.
That's why I'm like, is it strange that it's different? Like,
yeah. Just more clickbait bullshit. Alright, that's not. I'm getting close. Alright, that's the Gary quote. Is this the full render? Nope, those are the side bits. Ah! Here it is. Alright, it's got sound. I'm gonna hold up here.
screen share.
Yeah, but I think I have to screen 2. Yeah, it's screen
Pause the
2.
music.
Let me know if you can hear it. Or I guess tune in. Are you tuned in?
I am. I cannot
You
hear
hear it?
anything.
Okay.
Let me make sure my sound's on.
Figure that shit out.
Try it now. Yeah, I got no volume.
Maybe I have to stop my video.
Well, I know there's like a setting somewhere to stream with sound.
Do I have to do that, or is it you?
You do. Because I have my sound on for your stream.
It's not giving me any options. Is it in? Maybe I have to stream the window.
Yeah, try that.
Share screen. Go live.
There we go.
Audio?
Yep.
This isn't the right one.
It's cool though.
I know it. Well, there was some more editing involved than I had done.
Did you see that short teaser that they did for Lord of the Rings? For the new Amazon Lord of the Rings, where they poured the liquid metal into the thing?
No.
Yeah, like it was something that looked like it was supposed to be CG, but then they showed a behind the scenes of it, and it was actually all practical effects.
Oh wow. Okay, I found it. It's the right video this time. You ready?
Yeah, let me tune in.
I don't know why I named it "Stupid Video No Sound," but it's got sound.
It was. It was very.
That was going to be the intro. Yeah, that was the first version that I had done, and then I kind of just stopped.
Some of the transitions in the very beginning were a little much.
Yeah, a lot.
But other than that,
I was like,
was
I
cool.
just got like this transition pack, and I was like, oh, neat, and I just threw them on. Hold on. Then this one was. I got one more. This one was going to be an intro to a module that I was working on and trying to sell. This was in the same world that you were in my game. This is actually some backstory and shit. That was just the first draft of it, and then I was going to do more, but then I was working with Derek on this, but then he, went crazy, or was crazy. But I made that map in the background and
everything. Here, I'll screen share this with you.
Do it.
Let's do it over here.
Man, your ears must be super low on your head for fucking headphones to like sit like this.
I don't know. They just kind of go down over time. I don't know.
Because these aren't even on my ears right now. My ears are like here.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have a weird head.
Fucking weird ass head looking motherfucker.
Let's share this.
Some Aqua FPS looking motherfucker.
It should have sound. Anyway, yeah, say what you want about the series, but that was neat as shit.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Hold on. I was waiting for your stream to pop up.
Oh, did you not see it?
No, I don't even see a queue for it.
How about now?
No, there it is.
Once more with feeling.
Oh yeah.
The show's gonna be dog shit, but this looks cool.
Yeah. Practical effects are the best.
They are the best, man. It's just cheaper to hire a fucking crew of Indians to do it for you. And rush them and, not pay them enough money so they do dog shit jobs.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the CGI in the first episode of Halo was actually pretty good.
Was it?
Although there were several points of contention. One of them was changing races of people. Same problem that Wheel of Time had. Same problem that all these other new shows are coming out are having. They Witchered it.
Whose race did they change?
Miranda Keyes.
Why?
And Captain Keyes.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
These characters that we already know what they look
They had
like.
Sergeant Johnson. He was black. He's fucking dope as hell.
In a show that already has representation from all over the place.
Dude, it's the most inclusive storyline ever. There's a co-ed army.
Mm-hmm.
There's no discrimination.
It happens in the distant future, and nobody is racist. Like
dude, it's the most least discriminatory show on the planet.
Yep.
Everybody was equal. The smartest person on the planet was a woman.
But
like,
yeah,
what the fuck?
So there was that.
That's what I hate about this shit.
And then Halsey's blonde now, and way younger.
Of course.
And let's see what else was there. They showed Master Chief's face in the first episode. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and I saw the images of who it was, and I don't dislike who it was, but I dislike the fact that, like, I mean, if you could do it in Dread, like, what's the big deal?
But
they just fucking, they gotta ruin it. They gotta fuck it up.
And then they show at one point a wide shot of High Charity, like you know, in Halo 2 Remastered, that beautiful shot of High Charity, like from a distance, and there's just like Covenant ships everywhere, and it's just
amazing.
Yeah. The one in the show was a little disappointing compared to that. It wasn't bad, but it's just like it wasn't as good as the one in the game.
I heard that people were comparing the CG from the show to that of the games.
There was one shot of an assault rifle on the ground that was pretty jank, but like overall the CG was good. But then there was a human on High Charity, which was weird. Like one of the prophets goes up to this like blonde girl who's reading a book and was like, "Hey, we brought the prisoner such and such."
You know what that sounds like?
What?
Fan fiction. Just bad fan fiction.
And he was like, "You read the books of the humans not because they are your people, but because you want to understand them better." And I was like, okay. You know, this is going to require some explanation.
Why?
But
dude, it's already there. It's perfect. Why do they have to try and change it?
And the only other thing was, this wasn't a bad thing. It just caught me off guard. Is Covenant plasma weapons have no fucking chill. I think I told you this last night. They, like in the game, you know, you get hit by a shot from a plasma rifle, you expect, you know, a big blue cloud of smoke, and then you go, oh, and then you continue on. No, like one shot from, like there's this one scene in the very beginning where like a shot comes from in the tree line over the hill from just a regular plasma rifle, and just a single shot just like blows a kid into like body parts. Like there's just an arm goes that way and their torso disintegrates, and it's just like it's way overpowered.
Yeah, I heard about the whole hippie massacre thing that was going on. I'm gonna watch it eventually, but I don't know. I might.
It was worth watching. It was definitely worth watching, but there was
technically
just some quirks.
In the books. I mean, I guess you were Master Chief, so you had shields and armor and shit. But like in the books, Covenant plasma weapons were devastating. Like if you got shot with one in the chest, it just burned a hole through you. And the ship to ship combat weapons were just as bad.
I like that one of my favorite things about the Halo books was the detail they included where the Covenant was so completely beyond conventional weaponry that their hulls of their ships were like paper.
Yeah, literally paper thin. That's why railgun rounds just went right through them. Once they get past the shield, it was just all the way through.
I read another thing a long time ago. I don't remember what it was, but it was another like hard sci-fi thing, and it just in the distant future, somebody suddenly had the idea to just use solid bullets instead of like energy weapons, and then it just devastated the enemies because nobody had thought of it because it was so far past that.
Right. They covered that in Stargate a couple times. I mean, that's the reason why they're able to take out the gold so easily. Because it's like the technology's so beneath them, but high enough that getting hit with a lead slug hurts.
Yeah, like I remember the scene where they have the not the Tok'ra, but the Rebel Jaffa group, and they're like doing a weapons deal with them. And the Jaffa are like, our stabs are superior. Watch this, and he shoots at a target a couple times, and then she just pulls out the P90 and just shreds the thing.
She like shot a telephone pole in half, basically.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm glad the P90s are their favorite weapon in that game. It's such a cool little gun.
Wow, dude,
that's in that show.
Yeah, that was like my coworker. He's a P90 fangirl, and it was because of Stargate. He's got a P90 or P90S or a PS90, the civilian version with the longer barrel. But yeah, they were using MP5s for a while, and then they switched over.
I was a P90 fan because of Counter-Strike, but then I was also excited to see it in Stargate.
I love the AK-47 in Counter-Strike. That's my favorite. That and the pump action shotgun. But also, I think I had a theory, all right? Because I used to download on CS Source. I would mod the shit out of my game to oblivion, basically.
Yeah.
And I would get like the highest quality custom version. They weren't even the same gun anymore. But I had like some super awesome high-end, like what was the suppressed submachine gun that you could get? I can't remember what it was called.
I mean,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
I don't think so.
It was specifically, there wasn't like the M4 where you could put a suppressor on. It was like it was an auto, it was at a really high rate of fire.
I mean, the MP9 is pretty quiet.
No, it was suppressed. It was totally suppressed. Anyways, I would just download new versions of all these guns, and then I would just rock these guns, and it felt cooler, and it felt like the gun worked better because the animations and everything were super dope. And I was just like, wow, this gun actually is super awesome. And it's not because of the fucking custom model I have, but maybe it's just because I think it's awesome that I'm playing better with it.
Was it the TMP?
I think it is the TMP. Hold on, let me look it up. TMPC is source. Yep, that's the one. But the version that I had was like, I don't know. It didn't look nothing like the TMP, and I had multiple versions of it. And I would just rock the whole fucking map with that gun over and over again. But then when I would play it with just out the skin, it was just garbage. Like I couldn't kill anybody with it.
Yeah,
maybe there was some hacks involved. I don't know.
Speaking of hacks in Counter-Strike, my friend Colton had this horrible experience where this was back before Discord was the thing, and people used like janky shit like TeamSpeak and Mumble and
Roger Wilco was the first one I ever used.
I can't remember which one I used first. It wasn't TeamSpeak. It wasn't Mumble. There was a different one. But anyway, so he's playing one day just by himself. And he gets a message with somebody who was on a team with him that's like, "Hey, do you want to join our group and we'll play together?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So they send him a link to their TeamSpeak. Well, you know how insecure TeamSpeak leaks are. Next thing you know, his computer's doing shit on its own. Everything's disappearing from his inventory. His $50 knife skin that says "Happy Birthday Colton" on it just vanishes from his inventory, and he's like, "Oh man." I was like, you can contact Valve and they can like fix that, and he just kind of never did. Like he just kept putting it off until it was like, it's been like a year. I was like, Colton, you were recording, like you were literally showing your screen whenever this happened. Like, just contact Valve, say, "Gaben, give me my shit back."
I remember back in high school at the computer lab, somebody installed Counter-Strike Deathmatch on all the computers. And it was literally like, as soon as everybody got out for lunch, we just sprinted to the computer lab and did nothing but play Half-Life Deathmatch all the whole lunch, and then just be like, well, shit, I'm hungry now. Fuck.
When I was in Tritech, we installed Perfect World on all of the computers, because free MMO, pretty much as good as WoW, mechanically.
Yeah.
But yeah, we installed that on all the computers, and then Tritech was like 3.5 hour sessions or something like that. It was like the entire second half of the school day. And so we would blow through the course curriculum for the day in like an hour, and then just spend the rest of the day playing Perfect World.
I got Doom on the computers in my economics class. Yeah, it was my economics class. And so I would just be silently playing Doom as my teacher talked about shit I didn't give a shit about. And then he put us into groups of 4, and the first thing that we did in the first part of the year was we were doing a mock stock exchange game. So we got fake money, but we played the real stock market.
Mm-hmm.
And we started with $5,000, and by the time I was the only one in my group that actually, because I was like, wow, this is interesting. I was like researching stocks and buying stocks.
Mm-hmm.
I bought some stocks in some obscure oil company that was supposedly like found like some deal somewhere, and I ended up making $2 million on it.
Damn.
And I won the whole thing in the whole class. And I was like, man, if I had enough money, I would just go ham on the stock market. And then the other one was we had to develop a product, and we had to decide whether or not we wanted to market it, like how much money we wanted to develop for research and development shit. And then we had to create a PowerPoint presentation that described ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I went ham on that as well, because it's the first time I had any chance to edit anything. And it was so good that he had me play it for all of the classes and all periods of the day that he had.
Wow.
And there's only one part. It was a quote from Caddyshack when he was like, smells like poontang. I didn't know what poontang was at the time. I just thought it sounded funny.
Uh-huh.
But because he was like, hey, you're not supposed to say that. And I just looked at him like, what? Everyone else thought it was hilarious. And then he used it from that point on to show people how to make a good fucking, yeah, it was pretty funny. It was just quotes from like Saturday Night Live and Caddyshack.
Latter half of Tritech was interesting because by that point we all had laptops, but like we couldn't connect to the Wi-Fi because it wasn't like Wi-Fi for students wasn't a thing in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
But
What
also
are you Tritech for?
digital video production.
Oh, that's right. It explains all
the weird
all the memes.
Yeah. But the IT guy there didn't know what he was doing. And so there was like no DHCP whitelist. There was almost no network security. And so we just took in an old Linksys router and plugged it into the wall and just had our own sub Wi-Fi network. And somehow he didn't even, nothing gave him a status alert about it, like nothing. And it bypassed all of the firewall restrictions. We could go to any website we wanted. Like,
let's be real, dude. He didn't know what he was doing.
No, he didn't. He definitely
didn't. And the people who he worked for had literally no idea what he was doing.
There was one guy, and when he would come to troubleshoot something, he looked like he didn't want to be there. So he looked like an IT guy. But yeah, I remember playing Fallout on my laptop in college a couple times.
Dude, I remember playing when I was in the Marines. I bought a laptop. Thinking, because I wasn't very savvy on tech back then,
Mm-hmm.
I bought a laptop thinking that it was going to be good for playing games. And it was, but not for like state-of-the-art games. Like I remember Assassin's Creed when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
It barely ran that shit. But that game was fucking so goddamn cool when it first came out.
Yeah, I spent like $1,100 on a PC in 2010, I think it was, because I needed one that could run Adobe Premiere better. But I didn't know I didn't have enough knowledge at the time to know what piece of hardware you need to do video production. I was just like, oh, I'll just get this one with a better processor and more memory, not realizing I needed a nice GPU. So
yeah,
I got a laptop that still was pretty subpar for video production. Still have it. It's the one I use for my music mixer. Doesn't have a battery in it because the battery's died.
I don't even remember what happened to that laptop. Oh, I remember what happened to it. It was, back when laptops were like beefy.
Yeah.
And thick. And I would always pick it up by like the right bottom corner, just, to move it around. And I guess it fucked up the motherboard. So every time I would touch that side, it would just turn off. It would just short out. I ended up having to get rid of it.
Freaking the other day, our system admin he leaves his office and then he walks around across like the length of the room, and then he like walks over to our new guy's cubicle because he was gonna like talk to him about something, and he puts his hand on the cubicle wall and all the guys' monitors turn off. And he's like, "Wait, was that me?" And then so he like the monitors come back on after a few seconds, and he touches it again and nothing happens. And he goes, "Wait a minute." And he goes back to his office, sits down in his chair, gets back up, walks back, touches it, monitors go off. None of the rest of us could carry this sort of static charge. We all tried it. We all tried replicating the steps exactly, but only he could do it for some reason. It was the weirdest thing.
He just had enough alkalinity to charge his batteries up, I guess.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He's wearing a different material shirt than me too, so that might have been it.
Oh. So I'm gonna get my windows tinted.
Oh yeah.
You know where I can get? You know where I get the hookup?
I don't know if he's any good or not, but there's a place that's been in business for a really long time on Wellhouse Loop, right behind the bunker.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Because I thought about doing it myself, and for like the door windows, that'd be really easy to do. It looks like, but for like the back window and the side windows, I don't even know how I would begin to do that.
It's really not easy to do without getting bubbles underneath. Like, you really have to know what you're doing.
Well, like I watched a few videos and I talked to my buddy Dan who's done it before,
Mm-hmm.
and the side windows, if you are patient, it looks like, and you get the right tools,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that hard. But that's on the side doors where you can open up the window and trim it and do all this stuff for it.
Yeah.
But I don't even know where to begin on the back window. Like, how the fuck do you get up there and like do it right?
When you do go in, you might not know this off the top of your head. The gaskets on your windows, on the bottom, are they hard plastic or are they soft and floppy?
No idea. It's a brand new car. I'll be right back. I'll get my dog. We've been talking for a while, haven't we?
Yeah. Anyway, I got a quote on window tint once, and they gave me this bit of information, and then I didn't end up going through with that quote, but a few years later I got a window, actually, that was on my old car. My new one came with the windows pre-tinted, and the people who did it didn't know about this, but if you have the plastic ones, like the hard plastic gaskets, you need to swap them out for the soft and floppy ones, otherwise it'll scratch your tint. Like if you look at all four windows in my car, they have vertical lines going up and down the tint on the inside because it's got the hard gaskets.
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dude, ever since like this car has auto climate control, it's the coolest fucking part of my car.
I mean, do you never drive through places where you have to roll your window down?
I mean, I roll the window down to get food and shit, but
yeah, that's what I mean. Like that, just that light usage will scratch your tint.
I wanted to get silver tint to match the color of the car, but I was looking at a lot of reviews and they were like, "Yeah, I get zero cell phone reception in my car now."
Huh?
Because it's got metal fragments in the pigment.
So you're making yourself a Faraday cage.
It's basically you're making a Faraday cage. I was like, well, fuck. That's why you don't really see that too often in car. Like everybody around here has to special order them.
I don't know how much customization you actually want to do to a leased car, but your car looks really good, but then you see the wheels and they're really disappointing.
Yeah, I'm on the fence right now because I'm like, well, my wheels look like fucking shit.
You should get some. You should get some Rota slipstreams on there.
Rota slipstreams. Huh? Some 22s.
Like maybe like a 19, 18 or 19.
I mean, those do look pretty nice.
They're the same as Volk TE37s. They're just way cheaper because they're not Volk brand.
Yeah. So $590 for 4.
The Volk ones are $590 for like 1.
Oh, damn.
But they do look pretty dope though. If you look up the Volk TE37.
No, they do. Yeah, that was the only, because I didn't have a choice.
Right.
This was the only new Corolla that was going to be coming in for months, and wasn't the only new one, but it was the only new one that hadn't already been sold on the boat. And I was like, "Fuck! I feel like I have to get this."
Or you could get the BBS ones that come stock on the Evo 10s. Those ones are cool.
I don't know. I was looking around and I was like, I don't know what fucking wants to get. I would love to have 22s, but there's just not enough rubber there, dude, for me.
Yeah, even with I have 18s on mine, and it's like the tires are really low profile, and they're more expensive than tires usually are, which is weird because it's less rubber. But
like, I fucked my rim up with 16s. Like, well, granted, I wasn't the freeway. I was coming off an on ramp or an off ramp, and I was still going like 60. And on the right side of the road, over the line, there was like this drainage port, but it dropped like 6 inches.
Oof.
And I just went bam, and I was like, oh fuck! It like I had a huge bulge in my tire, and it dented the rim. I can't imagine doing that on what, like 3 inches of rubber.
So
just evaporate.
So I learned today that scissor lifts have a feature called pothole guards, and they're just like there's just these little skirts that go down on the sides that if you roll over a pothole, you won't tip the whole fucking scissor lift over.
It's good to have.
But so when we did the scissor lift training, we went up in teams of 2, and the other guy was our new guy at WSU. And so basically it was like we go up in a team of 2. He drives it around to like the front of this dumpster and then lifts it up and then back down, and then we switch places, and I lift it up and back down and then drive it back to where it was before, and then that's how we're rotating through people. So he went first, and so he raises it all the way up, and then when he went to put it back down, the controls were really archaic on it, and so he accidentally started moving forward while it was fully extended up, and so everything just kind of went like I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's got to be tense.
The controls are the dumbest fucking thing. It would be so easy to have a 4-way joystick and then an up button and a down button. That's all you need for this particular device, but instead there's a joystick that only goes forward and back, and then it has a speed toggle that's just a thing that turns on and off. And then it's got like you press the button and it lights up. And then it has 2 buttons, and one of them is forward and back movement, and the other one's up and down movement, and whichever one is selected is which way the joystick's gonna make it go. And it's just like this is more complicated than it has to be, and it doesn't feel right. It feels weird to use. Like
it was designed for ultra simple-minded people.
I mean, it's not though. It's more difficult to use than it would be if it was simple.
Maybe you're just overthinking things. Man, I really wanted some dubs on my fucking car, but I'm leasing it. And there's a part of me that's like, man, I wish I had just gotten a loan. But I'm like, well, I'm saving a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it's not my fucking car. I'm just renting this shit right now. But in 3 years, it'll be mine if I want it.
You should put some 19s on there, and then like slam it and camber it and put a nice wrap on it.
Put the fucking muffler off.
Big tall spoiler.
Right. I don't go fast enough. It does, it for fucking a new car. I mean, only a 4-cylinder, one of the most economic 4-cylinders in existence. It does have some pretty good get up and go.
Yeah, Corollas are deceptive. Even like the older ones, like we had a 2003 Camry, and that thing had less horsepower than my car, but that thing would really move if you just put your foot down on the gas.
Yeah, if you turn off the traction control, it'll go even faster. Then if you get in a car wreck, you're fucked.
Imagine
'Cause
having traction control.
Yeah, right.
I don't have traction control.
Yeah, because you fucking don't have a Corolla. I just wanted a car to get me from point A to point B that has automatic climate control, because that's just dope. You think it'd be such a simple concept that would have been there for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
just like a normal house would. But no.
I would
Here it
say the quality wise, my car is like almost exactly halfway between like a Kia Soul and like a Toyota Corolla. Because Kia Souls, those things are made of fucking plastic. Like
Kias are, well, yeah, the Kia Soul is literally.
the cheapest car I've ever driven. We had one at Klein's.
Is that the sedan?
No, it's the little hatchback squarish.
Oh yeah, that thing.
Yeah. That's why like all the companies that need a delivery car buy them, because you get them for like $5,000 like new.
I can't remember which one it was, but there was a Kia like smaller end sedan, and it was the only stick shift that they had. And I was like, I don't mind driving stick. I mean, I grew up driving stick. I love driving stick.
It's more fun.
It's just more cooler to drive around. But when I sat in it, I literally could feel like the suspension. It wasn't like it was bobbing up or down. It was like it was shifting back and forth. And I was like, I looked at the guy that was with me at the dealership, and I was like, "Hey man, can I go to McDonald's in this?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't give a shit." So I drove to the drive-thru at McDonald's with this fucking car,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Man, I feel like I'm gonna break this car just getting in and out of it." And it was only like a $16,000 car, like brand new. I was like, "Yeah, this isn't it."
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go back to what I know, the Corolla.
the one we had at Klein's was like, it had like the colored rings around the speakers, and it had like a real nice looking dashboard and stuff, but it was like a really budget gaming PC build. Like they had a bunch of lights and colors and stuff, but like under the hood it was garbage. We used to take that thing, and anytime one of us would do a service call, you would get back to the shop and you would turn it to like one of the Spanish radio stations, and then you would turn the volume all the way up and then turn the car off. So the next person who used it would have like mariachi music blasting as soon as they started the car.
That's hilarious. I would love to get some subwoofers in this fucking car, though.
Do you love me a
Some
good subwoofer?
good ones, like a solid, not nothing overpowered either. Not some retarded like blow out your windows bullshit.
The ones where you can see the waves in the glass.
Yeah, it's fucking your fucking car's vibrating apart. My buddy Dan used to do that in like competitions and shit. Like he could get like frequencies that make you throw up. Like
the brown note.
Yeah, he would get like, because I mean, it's just like vibrating your guts.
Right.
So like he would just find the sweet spot and get never to puke in his fucking car. He used to build boxes and shit. I never used to be into this shit, and now I'm like, well, I got a new car. Fuck it, why not?
Trying to remember.
My last car was a 2008 Toyota Corolla.
I can't remember if it was on TikTok or Instagram, but there was somebody who had one of those like excessive subwoofer things. Like I think it was I want to say it was like an extended bed pickup truck with like a camper on it, because like behind the front seats was just like a 4 or like a 5x8 grid array of subwoofers. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those videos before. And then like they put some chick in the front seat and her hair is just like.
Yep. Like they'll have a song that has like a really like trebly buildup, and then just like a solid bass drop, and everything just goes insane. And it's like, how are you sitting in that car?
Yeah. I mean, what if your heart just stops?
I still always
think a jet engine is in the back seat.
Mm-hmm. I still always think about that Vine where the first half of it is playing what's her name's All About That Bass, and it's just the guy turning the treble all the way down on his car and turning the bass all the way up, and then like the second half of it cuts to like the outside of the car, and there's just like illegible noise, just like, and the guy's like,
yeah, right, just like. Man, I had the most ghetto setup with a subwoofer once. I fucking had a 12-inch sub that was from my surround sound unit that the receiver had gone out, so it was useless.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it in the trunk of my car. I got one of those little amplifiers like that you can plug into a cigarette lighter to plug like outlets into.
I did the same thing.
Plug that into there. Got a Bluetooth adapter and fucking plugged it into like jury rigged some bullshit connector on the subwoofer connector to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just basically had it wasn't even a real sub. It was just playing all the sound but through a sub, so there's more bass to it. But
Yeah.
and it would just roll around in my trunk when I was fucking driving around.
Yeah, I had a set of Logitech computer speakers that had a giant ass like wooden subwoofer that came with it that was just like a really weirdly powerful for what it was, and I got it for free too. Yeah, I just stuck that in the trunk. Same thing as you, cigarette lighter, power outlet, and then I ran cables like you could peel up the sides of the carpet or by the door frame, and so I just ran cables underneath that going into the trunk, and just it sounded really good for what it was.
Yeah, I mean, just for a jury rig thing, I mean, I was like, oh, this works for me. But then I sat in my friend's car who actually had some legit subs in the back, and I was like, fuck, this
Yeah,
sounds amazing.
my current one has a legit sub, and I very much like it.
He had like 212s in the back, and I was like, dude, this is sexy as fuck. Just like it's not overpowering, but it's just enough bass that
Yeah.
damn. I need an amplifier and shit too. I remember my buddy had a Geo Metro in high school, and he had that shit. And every time
Was
the
it
bass
bright
would
ass
go off-
green?
yeah, and
They always
every
are.
time the sub would go off, the headlights would dim. So he's just driving around with like these semi-strobing headlights. Hold on, I was going to show you the vinyl wrap I was going to get.
Oh, you're actually gonna do a vinyl wrap? That was a joke.
Dude, some of those vinyl wraps look amazing. Let's see if I can find it. This is probably the closest color that I think. Oh, this is no. God damn it. How do I just watch the? I'll just screenshot the fucking vehicle. It's a terrible image, but it's like a dark purple. Like, I'm gonna put it in the general. It was the color I always got my cars in GTA Online. It's like a dark
Ooh.
pearlescent purple.
Nice.
But you know, what like a good professionally done vinyl wrap lasts about like 5 years.
I mean, that's
So I
not
was like,
bad.
you know, it's not bad at all, but like I'm expecting like somewhere in the middle, so like a 3-year, which is like my lease.
I
But
need
shit, man, that's like a $2,000 job.
I need to either get a different car or get mine repainted because it looks like shit.
Honestly, dude, I wasn't gonna say anything, but like I pulled up in the parking lot and I was like, I think that's Harley's car, but
Yeah.
this fucking paint job is oxidizing like crazy.
There was a period of time around 2000, around the leading up to 2010, where like every Japanese car manufacturer except like Toyota used like this really shitty clear coat. Like you'll notice that like Nissans and Mitsubishis and Subarus and everything from like 2007 through 2010, they all like 8 years or so down the road they have this clear coat problem.
My 2008 Corolla, after a few years after I got it, had especially the back end was just coming off everywhere.
Yeah. So I don't wash it anymore because like what the fuck is the point? It looks like shit anyway.
Yeah, at that point, who gives a shit? But yeah, I was like, oof.
Yeah,
that sucks.
It's rough.
I was
Because it was a really pretty car when I first got it.
The front of it looks okay. It was the back end that looked like ass.
Yeah, the back and the sides and the top. The hood looks fine.
You can't even vinyl wrap that shit.
No, you'd have to paint it first.
Yeah, just get a 2-tone or a 3-tone. Pearlescent.
I don't know. I kind of want to get a better car.
What's wrong with your car?
Slow.
What's the year?
2008.
Oh, same year as mine. Yeah, dude, just lease a new car like me, man. I mean, 3 years they lock in the price, and then with inflation, it's going to be worth less than what it would be if the inflation had kicked in.
True.
And if you want to get rid of it, you just get a new car after that. Honestly, if you're getting a brand new car, I think leasing is, because they also pay for all the maintenance for like the time you're leasing it.
Yeah, that's a big plus.
If anything happens to it, it's on them. Well, except for the windshield for some reason. They were like, windshields aren't what they used to be like back in the day. Like they got technology built into them. They're like worth like $1,400 per windshield.
Yeah,
and they were like, it's only $50 more a month to get protection for your windshield. I was like, fuck off.
Yeah, that new RAV4 that we got in the beginning of 2021, it was like, it was gonna be like, they told us if we had to get that windshield replaced, it was gonna be something to the tune of like $10,000. Like, it was just insane because it has like cameras and sensors and like all sorts of shit in it.
Yeah. I was like, I think my insurance deductible of $500 is going to be good enough.
Cars, man.
Get a new car now, dude. Or get a new car now, because who knows, dude? You might not be able to get one.
Nobody's going to want to buy my current one, though.
Just undercut fucking what it's worth, and you'll sell it instantly. Because, dude, I don't know why, and the dude at the dealership couldn't explain to me why, but used cars are hyperinflated right now. They're cheaper than new cars.
You mean more?
It's all you got to do is just come out and be like, "Hey, I'll sell you this used car at like what it should be," and somebody will buy it, or trade it in at the dealership because they'll take it. Because used cars are worth so goddamn much. He even told me that. He's like, "Do you have that?" Because I took my mom's Kia to work. He's like, "Dude, if you trade that Kia in, we'll hook you up," because they're looking for used cars. Just get like a fucking GT.
Like a Ford?
Yeah, like a Ford GT.
With gas prices the way they are, get a car that gets 6 miles to the gallon.
Hey, you gotta drive like 2 minutes to work.
This is true.
Dude, you could probably save a lot of money on insurance too if you switch to Metromile, like the thing I got. You pay 9.1 cents per mile on top of that, so it's a flat rate of like $34 a month for full coverage, and then 9.1 cents per mile on top of that.
Where did you lease it from?
I leased it from Toyota. But dude, everywhere has like, imagine what like a full car lot would look like. It's like a football field usually of just cars. 10% of that. That's what that lot was. And they had spread them around to kind of make it look like it was fuller. But if they had to put all their cars in one spot, it'd probably be like 5% of the entire lot was filled with cars.
That's weird.
Yeah. Chip shortages, man. And I like how like Biden's like telling us like, oh, the fucking the sanctions are put on Russia is going to cause food shortages for you guys. But it's like, why are you doing it then, man?
Next time you see me, I'm going to drive up in a 2022 Supra. You're just going to be like, the fuck?
Oh, dude, that'd be dope. Supras are awesome.
I don't actually like the new ones that much.
I haven't seen the new ones.
They're kind of weird looking. I mean, like, I really like the old Supras that had like the cockpit style.
Yeah, the early like 2000s and shit. Oh wow, it does look weird.
Yeah,
dude, a coupe would be awesome.
Or the
I remember my friend bought a Miata. My friend bought a Miata in high school and like crashed into a telephone pole like the next week, trying to drift it going to school.
My other friend Sam, he and my friend Zach and their friend Ryan, who I don't really know, Sam and Ryan and Sam's girlfriend were in Ryan's Eclipse, and it was a white one, and it was like one of the ones with the lines on the door, like the 2004-ish, I think. And they were over on, if you cross that little bridge by Beaver Bark, like you're going to Chamna, that straight road. They were on that road and they were drag racing because, you know, what do you do when you're 20?
Why not, man?
And so it was Zach and his turboed Celica. I think it was janky as fuck, by the way. He like did a home job on it, and it was rough. But it was him and his turboed Celica, and then his friend Ryan and his Eclipse. And something happened that Ryan went off the road and like rolled the car like 3 times, and it looked like just a crushed up tuna can. Fortunately, nobody got like seriously hurt, but he showed me pictures of it, and that thing was obliterated.
Holy shit!
Yep.
Holy shit! How did it crash?
I don't know. It's a straight road.
Starting like a dummy.
I don't know how people crash on straight roads. Like I watched. There's a really old anime that's not Initial D. It's the other car one. It's called Wangan Midnight. And all of the racing, instead of drifting up in the mountains like Initial D, they're just like street racing on expressways. And so they're all just going in a straight line all the time. And there are so many fucking car crashes because it's just like it'll show a close up of the tires and then it starts, you hear the screeching and it starts to go sideways. It's like, what's happening? They're going in a straight line. They look like they're going maybe like 140 miles an hour. That's not really even that fast for these high performance cars. Like,
dude, one of the coolest moments in my life actually was when a bunch of the Marine guys that I was with were going to go out and party at some pro skater's house. I don't even remember who it was. Out in I can't remember what the fuck it was. It was like east of San Diego, almost out in the desert.
I was gonna try to name a really obscure pro skater, and I couldn't even think of one.
I don't even remember who it was, but that's the house we were going to. And when we were going there was 5 cars, and I was in it was a Supra actually. My buddy's red Supra. It was brand new at the time. It was like a 2011 Supra, and we all decided to race there. And we were going along the 8, I think, or one of the freeways going east. And it's like Friday night, so it's packed. And we are literally driving as fast as we fucking can, diving in and out of traffic. Like street racing down here. And my buddy's like, sorry, man, if I scare you. And I'm just holding on to his dashboard and the thing, just like, holy shit. And I'm just guiding him. I'm like, all right, it's clear, go. And we just, it was fucking awesome.
I did that coming back from Seattle once. It was like 2012. We had, me and like 4 other people had gone to a convention up there. And we were coming back and I was driving and I was in my old Lancer, which was automatic. It had a CVT actually, and it had the flappy paddle shifters. Yeah. But I was driving, and I was going like 100 miles an hour, and we're coming down the pass, and I was just like weaving in and out of cars because I was like, I'm fucking tired. I've been here for 3 days. I want to go home. Yeah. And then there was one moment where if I'd had more horsepower, it would have just been like easy. But it was a slow ass car, and so like the gap closed and I couldn't get through it, and then I was stuck behind like a pack of cars for a really long time. And I was like, see, this is why I need a freaking faster car. And then one of my friends in the back is like, he's holding on to the fucking handle. He's like, no, you fucking don't.
That's fucking hilarious. Another fucking crazy time in the Marines was my roommate at the time. He had a crotch rocket, and we were going to go up to LA to go to this bar. It was like one of the grandfathered bars where you could still smoke inside. Like there's some loophole law that they had. And so I rode on the back of his crotch rocket. And mind you, I've never been on a motorcycle in my entire life up until this moment.
Yeah.
And so, you know how crotch rocket seats, the back one's kind of like elevated up a little bit? So you're like kind of over them?
Yeah.
Fuck that shit. Dude, this dude was crazy. Like, he was like, all right, man, just kind of like hold on to me. So I'm like literally like wrapping my arm, and like he was going so goddamn fast and weaving in and out of cars. I was scared shitless. I was like, oh my God, we're going to die. And I just basically like, I held it up so tightly to him that I was sitting on his seat behind him. So we were both just like scrunched up, and I'm just holding on to this guy, trying to like lean into where he's going. Dude, fuck that shit.
Yeah, no, I had a similar first experience where it was like my friend Zach and his friend Cody were going to they were going to a place over in Pasco, but they were going to take their motorcycles. I didn't have one. And Cody was like, "Well, you can ride with me if you want." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll give it a shot," because he had an extra helmet, and that was like the coolest shit ever. And I bought one the next month.
Yeah. No, dude, it was terrifying because we were in like San Diego, LA traffic,
Mm-hmm.
just screaming, like I don't know, 80, 90 miles an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and then like if there was a point where he couldn't weave in between to get into a lane, he would just, because it's legal in California to drive down the middle of the lane to
Lane
get
split.
past lane split.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I mean, these cars had to have been going like 35 miles an hour, and we're just like fucking like through them.
Mm-hmm.
I had never been more terrified in my entire life than that moment.
Yeah,
'Cause,
that
like,
that is not something that we did at the time.
I was so goddamn pissed at him
Mm-hmm.
when he did that. I took a taxi home. I was like, dude, I don't want to fucking die. I would have just, I mean, he had a helmet for me, like a full faced helmet. But if something had gone wrong, I would have just been splattered into somebody's fucking car.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it was memorable, but
I was always
shit.
really careful on my motorcycle. That was just one thing that I never did anything stupid because I was like, this is like increasing my chance of dying by like 1,000%. So I'm just gonna be extremely careful. And it's also a very slow bike. Like it was a little bitty one, but
I actually almost got a motorcycle, but knowing me and just like I've always really wanted to go fast and shit, and on a
Mhm.
motorcycle it'd be really easy to do it.
mm-hmm.
But literally, like I've had my cousin die just deleted on a motorcycle.
Yeah, they're no
Uh,
joke.
I know a dude in the Marine Corps who was just deleted on a motorcycle.
I had a couple
and-
close calls. Like it's especially annoying with motorcycles because you can be the most careful person in the world, and typically the accident, if you're taking proper care, is not your fault.
Yeah.
And there were several times whenever I almost got hit by a car, just some idiot either on their phone or not watching where they're going. Or...
Everybody that I know that has ridden seriously has told me that if you ride consistently and long enough, you're gonna crash. You're going to crash your
Yeah.
motorcycle, and it's always never your fault.
I didn't ride long enough, and so that's why I don't have the experience of crashing. But I would have if I'd have kept it up.
My
Guaranteed.
buddy was telling me that he had been riding motorcycles in San Diego long enough. So in San Diego, you know the bridge that goes up to Walmart on
No.
Dupertail?
Oh, here, yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know San Diego.
No, yeah, there's a
Yes.
million bridges in San Diego. So you know how it's grooved?
Yes.
All highways in San Diego are grooved like that.
Hmm.
And so when it happened, I think in the early 2000s, when they finally started grooving the highways, the whole point of it is to basically guide your tires, and it makes it so it's easier to grip. But it's mostly to guide your tires, so
Okay.
that when you're driving, they just follow the threads on the ground.
Okay, that
Uh,
makes sense.
But a lot of motorcycles didn't have like certain stabilizers in the handlebars.
Mm-hmm.
So when they would drive on them on the freeway, they would just get like insane, like rocking or like wobbling.
Yeah.
And he was, him and his buddy started to go down the freeway to go somewhere, and they both started getting the wobble because it's the first time they'd ever been on the freeway like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he slowed down and pulled off to the side, but his buddy didn't. And he remembers looking over and seeing his buddy like ragdolling, like full on like arms up in the air and legs on the ground, just spinning through the air
Oh Jesus.
because he crashed into a semi truck.
Mm-hmm.
And then he like the freeway stops and he runs over to him and he just gets up. He's just perfectly fine. He just like landed in some bushes in the medium, and he was just cool.
Fucking.
But he was like, yeah. And then he wrecked like 2 months later doing some crazy shit. He had to dump his bike.
That just makes me think of the of whenever I got into that electric skateboard accident, because the remote had 4 speeds on it. There was slow, medium, fast, and fast plus, and there was just a button that like toggles between them. And I had it on fast because I was comfortable with fast, but not fast plus. And
Yeah.
I was cruising down the road, and I guess I had hit the button by accident again to toggle its fast plus, and just not realized it because when I looked at it later, that's what it was on. But yeah, so I thought I was limited at a certain speed, and I wasn't, and I got going way too fast, and then the wobble started, and like I tried to hit the brake, but I knew if I hit the brake too fast, I would fly off the board anyway. Because skateboards don't naturally have a feeling of decreasing your momentum spontaneously like brakes, and so it's really weird whenever a skateboard breaks underneath you. And so like I started to brake, but I knew that I couldn't do it quick enough, and the wobbles were getting worse, and I knew I was just like, "Yep, I'm going down." And it was another maybe 2 or 3 seconds before I actually fell, but like I could sense it from a long way off. I was like, "Fuck, this is gonna hurt." Going way too fast.
I had a friend because I longboarded for a very short period of time.
Longboarding was pretty hip and cool for a very short period of time.
Yeah. So my buddy was coming out with me one time. Actually, it was up by where you live,
Mhm.
kind of on one of those windy hills by Hanford
Mhm.
High. Anyways, he wanted to try it, and there's like this dip through this irrigation ditch, or where it used to be, I guess, but it just kind of dips down, dips back up. And we were just going through there, and we were like, all right, dude, just stay on the board, and if anything feels like it's gonna go wrong, just walk off or run off the board. You know, don't try to commit to it. Just run off the board and don't crash.
Yeah.
And so he comes down the hill. Dude, I remember like it was in slow motion. His board's wobbling like fucking crazy, and he lifts one foot off to try and like take a step to get off the board, but the board, the other foot, just like the board just goes in front of him. It just like cuts his other, and he just eats shit.
Oh no!
Like I heard him smack the pavement.
Oh.
He had to go to the hospital. He just sprained his wrist, but I was just like, oh shit. Yeah, maybe you're not cut out for this.
Yeah, whenever I knew that it was going out from underneath me, I tried to run out of it, but I was going like 25 miles an hour, and I can't run at 25 miles an hour, so
Yeah.
it was just there was no way.
Yeah, I remember going down a huge dirt hill in West Richland, and you know how when it rains, the dirt roads get those bumps in them.
Yeah,
those like rhythmic bump.
Washboard.
Yeah,
I think they call it
washboard pattern in them.
Yeah,
and I'm riding a BMX bike.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy's on a mountain bike, so there's like 6 inches of wheel diameter difference.
Yeah.
He's flying down it much faster than I am, but about halfway down, I get like hardcore speed wobbles.
Never gotten speed wobbles on a bike.
Well,
this would feel.
It was terrifying, dude. And so, like, I don't want to hit my brake because I'll go flying over my handlebars because I only have a front brake. So,
okay, well, that was part of your mistake.
Yeah, seriously. So the back one just didn't work, and it wasn't one of those ones where like you would just go backwards on the pedals. So what I did was I panicked. I just threw my feet down on the ground to try and slow me down, which didn't do shit, by the way. So I managed to keep it stable, but I mean it's violently. I'm like this, all the way down until the last like quarter, and then I eat shit, and then I just roll off the road, and I'm just laying in a bunch of like fucking tumbleweeds before they like dry up and float away.
Yep,
they're just super prickly and. So I'm like in a sagebrush going like I'm basically almost crying. I'm like, oh god, and then I go, boy, and then I just puke because I'm so fucking nervous from it.
Yeah.
And then my buddy didn't even notice. He just kept going.
So I later, loser.
Crawl out of this bush like fuck this shit, and then I catch up with him back at his house. He's like, dude, I didn't know where you went.
When I was like 6, I had my very first bicycle that I got. It had like fairings on it that made it look like a dirt bike, but it was just a really cheap like Walmart bicycle, and it was one of the ones that you pedal backwards to brake. It didn't have handbrakes.
Yeah.
And I was just learning to ride it. I'd just taken the training wheels off, and I was like a week into learning to ride it for real. And there was this field behind my house, like an empty lot, that went like across and then down a hill. And then the hill continued down like around a corner into like this wash that went all the way through like the middle of the neighborhood. which was dry, but like I would walk. There was a cemetery on the other end of the neighborhood that I would always walk around in. I was a creepy kid, but that
You were a
wash went
creepy
straight from
kid?
my house to there. But anyway, so what I was doing is my route for learning this bike was I would start at the one end of the empty lot, and I would go to the other end, and I would go down the hill, and then I would stop before I would get to the wash. And then one time my brain just malfunctioned and I forgot how to brake, and I just flew off into the wash and took the end of a handlebar right to the chest, had a big welt.
I knew a kid who ate shit on a little bike like that, but the handlebar turned, and when he hit the we were on a BMX track, so it's like hard as concrete, and we were going over those like 3 small bumps, and his handlebar turned, and when he ate shit, his handlebar went straight into his appendix.
Oh,
and just like blew out his guts, basically.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was traumatizing, watching that shit happen. I'll be right back.
Okay. It's a wonder. It's a wonder we didn't hurt ourselves more as kids. Some of the stupid shit we did, like when I lived in an even shittier part of Arizona when I was a little bit older, I saw like some extreme sports thing on TV about sandboarding, and I was like, "That's cool as shit. I want to do that." But it was in like southeastern Arizona, so we didn't have sand dunes. We had dirt. It was shitty dirt, but there was this like riverbank because. In the town I lived in, the river was like so small that you could like step across it, and it was only like 4 inches deep. Like calling it a river was just like the most terrible bastardization of the word river. Yeah. But whenever it would rain real hard, that thing would be like about half of the size of the Columbia. It was huge.
Yeah.
So there was these big riverbanks, and so I got like a $10 skateboard deck from Walmart, and I got some pieces of old carpet that we had torn out and was just like kind of thrown into a corner somewhere, and I cut out strips and I used like industrial grade staples and made bindings for my skate deck, and took it out to the dirt hills, and fucking it was a blast, and I never crashed. I should have. By every fucking law of the universe, I should have hurt myself badly doing this, but I was perfectly fine.
I'm just glad I wore a helmet, dude.
I didn't wear a helmet.
I was smart enough to wear a helmet when I did a bunch of that shit. I remember wrecking on my BMX bike. The first time I ever tried to hit like it was actually when I first learned how to use the wooden ramp that they had constructed to go off of the jumps that were down the way. And these were just like, this wasn't some professional setup like the BMX course was. This is just some dirt people piled up and built a ramp for on the side for fun. And we were just like, yeah, let's just fucking do it. We had to climb up this ladder to get to the top and hand the bike up. And then I was the stupidest one to like, they were like, yeah, man, just go up the fucking biggest one. It'll be fine. It's actually they called it Acme, but it was out by where you live on the bypass somewhere over there. Like just a BM. Anyways.
I know that is.
Yeah. So we I had this it was like the first generation of digital camera. It had a fucking floppy drive that you put inside. And I gave it to my friend. I'm like, dude, if I'm gonna do this, you gotta take a picture of me while I do it.
Yeah, of course.
And I hit the ramp at like I pedal it because everybody was like, dude, you gotta hit this fast. If you don't go fast enough, you're gonna not make it far enough. I went too fast, apparently, I just go straight up, and I remember being up in the air, and I remember seeing distinctly my friend's faces, like holy shit, and I like overshoot the other side and basically land on the fucking ground, but enough to like hit the dirt and then like slide on my fucking head.
Oh Jesus!
And I remember my ear had been like compacted with dirt, and it took a couple days to get all the dirt out of my ear. But it was just enough like incline of the other side that it wasn't just smacking flat earth.
Yeah.
So I got like absorbed into some of it. But he fucking couldn't figure out how to take a picture with the camera, so
That's lame.
It wasn't caught.
I have the opposite experience. I have a picture of like a still photograph of the moment it happened. When we were really into parkour, and you know where that trampoline place is, right next to where Value Village used to be?
Yeah.
In Kennewick?
Mm-hmm.
That trampoline place used to be a gymnastics gym. Like the whole place was like big padded things and trampolines, and like the floor was springy and etc. And so that was back in like 2010, 11-ish, whenever we were all really super into parkour. And what we'd been doing that day, because we'd gone there like every weekend for like 3 months at that point. And so we were all like extremely physically fit because we were just constantly like working every muscle in our body, just like climbing on shit and jumping over shit and etc.
Yeah.
And so we had this big stack of these like trapezoid shaped pads and just like a small like single person trampoline, and you would run and you would hit the trampoline, and you do a front flip over the pads, and then you would add another pad and you would keep increasing the height of the stack. And then just like one time, for some reason, you know how you just kind of fail to do things that you're normally completely capable of doing every once in a while. I did the flip, and instead of going all the way, I like just landed flat on the lower part of my back in the middle of this top of this thing of pads, and so my whole body just did like a full scorpion. And yeah, friend got a picture of it, but I feel like I feel like I never had serious back problems before that moment.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, it just like was bent in half.
I've seen people do that on trampolines and shit.
I tried so hard to do the wall backflip, but I could never wrap my brain around backflips. Like, I guess front flips are physically harder to do, but backflips are mentally harder to do because they're scarier.
Yeah.
So I was able to do front flips. I could do like at least on the springy floors, I could just do a straight up standing front flip at one point.
Wow.
But yeah, I could never get backflips.
I used to just jump off of trampolines, like fully, like, you know, backyard trampolines.
Yeah.
Just jump as high as you can, but off the trampoline onto the ground.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid.
I did that by accident a couple times.
Well, I would do it for fun. Like we would just be jumping on the trampoline, whatever, we're done, and I would just hop off onto the grass, just thunk. And then later that day, I'd be like, "Why do my knees hurt?"
Jumping on trampolines. Did you ever jump on one with a friend, and then you bounce at the right time, and they can boost you, and you go really high?
Yeah, they fucking fly off and half land on the trampoline and half don't.
Yeah, we after we had moved away from the first town I lived in, I came back to visit because my grandpa still lived there, and I brought my friend with me, and the trampoline I had was still there, but it was old, like it had just been sitting out in the weather unused for years at this point. And so me and my friend were like, we're gonna jump on the trampoline. He's like, you probably shouldn't, it's got like kind of micro tears in it, might go wrong. We're like, it's fine. We go to jump on the trampoline, and everything's going normally, and then he goes to give me a boost, and we both hit it at the same time, and then it just goes thunk, and it's gone. Because it just ripped right down the middle, and it was just like in one frame, the whole thing was just gone. And so we just like on the ground at like full speed. It made a very distinct like doom noise too.
Dude, my favorite is when you like landed on the springs with one foot.
Oh, or your leg goes between the
And
springs.
you're like, oh shit. Yeah. And it like pinches you with the springs.
Yeah.
Dude, I have a weird fucking... One of my friends who lived in... It was the same friend that happened with the mountain bike on the hill scenario. But I stayed the night at his house, and the whole plan was that we were going to sleep on his trampoline.
Mm-hmm.
Because why not? That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
But what it turned into was both of them, or there's four of us, his older brother and his older friend, and me and him, which are like 2 years younger, playing Mario, or not Mario Party, Pokemon Stadium, but the mini games that were in it.
Which
Remember
were fun
those?
as fuck, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were getting really upset that they were constantly losing. And then halfway through, I was introduced to my first hentai on VHS.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dedicated.
He was like, dude, this is my dad's video. And I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Was it
And
on like
started
a-
out
Was
well,
on
it
like
started out just as like a regular anime.
Well, yeah, they usually do. But was
And
it
then it
was it
what?
like taped? Like was it like a homemade
no,
thing, or was
it was like
legit?
he purchased this because he pulled it out of the box. I remember.
Wow.
And it just involved this like demon lord and this human chick, but his penis was the same size as her, but she could sit on it, and that's why she was worthy to be a demon princess. And I remember just having my little fucking middle schooler mind blown. Like,
Plots
what
are so
the
fucking dumb.
Fuck. And then we couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep that night just thinking about it. My innocence was shattered in that moment. You don't remember sexual education for the first time?
I never got that.
You never went to sex ed
Nope.
in like elementary school?
Nope. We
I
never
remember
had
seeing.
it was really, really conservative religious part of Arizona.
Oh,
And then also there was mandatory health class in high school here, but not
Yeah.
there. And I moved here halfway through high school. And so I got here and I had to take like a semester of health class as like a senior when it was normally a freshman thing. And so I was
Yeah.
just like surrounded by all these midgets learning about just like I don't even know if they covered. I don't even remember if they covered sex ed. I think that was a totally different thing. I just remember health class and learning about like bones and muscles and shit.
yeah, dude, it was fucking trippy. It was like some video from the 80s. It was just like, well, you'll start to have feelings, and girls start to get boobs,
Yeah.
and you're gonna fucking have erect penises, and all this shit. And then well, the most mind blowing thing about the whole thing was that because everybody was like, you know, they say you slept with this person. I slept with her. I thought that like how babies were made was you just got into a bed, and then somehow by proximity she got pregnant. Like the sperm flew out, found their way in, and that's how it happened. So I remember walking out of the class just like, what? Like, how? Okay, I mean that makes sense, but like my whole vision of the world is now shattered.
Yeah, sex ed for us was don't do it.
Oh.
And so it's
Yeah.
just like nobody knew anything about the human reproductive system. Like you see horror stories online where somebody like some woman will say something about a vagina and it's just so like comically inaccurate. And it's just
Yeah.
common knowledge, and then people kind of look at each other like, did we just hear that correctly? Like those type of people come from that town.
Yeah, I believe that. I know it was elementary school, but I think it was early elementary school that it happened. So it was way before any of us were even hitting puberty yet, I don't think. But I'm glad I learned it there and not from my parents. I realized, I was like, Mom, I got this, but you don't have to tell me the birds and the bees. And I think she was relieved too. She's like, oh, thank God.
Remember the first time I got caught watching porn? That was pretty funny.
My God. Yeah, me too, man. I remember it.
I was like 12 years old. And I had a whole bunch of tabs open. Well, Windows, because we didn't have tabs back then. Didn't have
Yeah.
that luxury. And then I got a pop-up that wouldn't go away. Like you click the X and it would just pop back up. And then like at the time, like my grandma had been like at the grocery store or something. And then so I hear the car drive up and I start trying to close out of shit and it keeps popping back up. And so I'm just like frantically pressing Alt F4 on the keyboard like, come on. But then I didn't know about the history at the time. And so she looked at the history and she was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, there was this weird pop-up and it kept coming up with all this stuff. And I'm just 100% sure she didn't believe me, but I didn't get in trouble, so.
God, yeah. I remember the first time I found porn. I don't remember. I think I found where my dad's porn was on the computer, and it was specifically a girl. I remember this. She was painted to look like a cow, and she had horns on, and she was kneeling over a bucket. And I remember seeing that. I was just like, what the fuck? And I had put a towel over my head, over the monitor, so no one could see what I was doing. And then one time my mom just took it off. And I was just like, it's not what it looks like, I swear.
Deer the headlights.
This isn't mine.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I was like 12 too when that happened.
Anyway, so I got more discreet about it after that.
Oh, yeah. You learn, you overcome.
Yeah, improvise, adapt, overcome.
I really hope they fix bleed builds on Elden Ring.
What's a plead build?
Bleed build?
Oh, bleed. I thought you said plead with a P. I was
Yeah,
like, the fuck? Is that like a faith thing?
Plead the bleed. No, it's what everyone is doing right now because it's OP.
Except against the final boss who's immune to bleed.
Well, yeah. Yeah, bleed, like, apparently the bleed builds is like the most OP against bosses. You get 2 twin swords, put the bleed Ash of War on them, and then do that, the one that like you stab it into you and it like the seppuku bleed build thing.
Yeah.
And if you jump L1, you'll do like a triple attack with each weapon because you just like spin them, and after like 1 you apply bead, so you just like can 4 to 5 shot most bosses with it through bleeding.
Wow.
Yeah, it's retarded. Dual 75-inch 4K TV floor computing. Holy shit! Did you see that?
No.
In battle stations. You subscribed to that subreddit?
I am.
Good God.
Also,
I mean, that looks amazing.
I was just scrolling through Reddit a minute ago, and somebody made a good point on the EFT subreddit. They said shooting unsuppressed firearms without ear protection indoors should immediately give you tinnitus.
It should.
Yeah, absolutely should.
Well, the first couple of shots.
The computer chair is a little.
Well, it's a floor setup.
I know it just looks kind of dumb.
It looks really dumb. It reminds me of those old rocking chairs that you sat in as a kid. Those little round ones on the floor. So that's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I mean, your eyes are gonna get blasted out from staring at fucking like suns all day.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. But a guy I used to game with in an Armor Group, he worked for a company that sold like industrial TVs for like touchscreen applications, so that, you know, when you're working in factories and shit, you can.
Yeah.
But apparently they have really low latency. And he got 2 of them for free. So whenever he gamed, at his computer desk, it was just basically encompassing 90% of his vision was just these 2 TVs. But they were touchscreen too, so he could just sit there and fucking.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's the funniest thing though with this monitor. Booting up fucking Elden Ring or quitting out of Elden Ring because you have to see it again. Like I just load up the game and then suddenly it's like, all right, I'm ready to play some games. Oh, it's in fucking dark mode. Damn it, it didn't work.
Right.
Opened up Wikipedia and it wasn't white.
Yeah, I can see it when you open up a white screen. Your face gets washed out.
Yeah, it's even worse with that Bandai Namco logo because it's entirely white. Like that was kind of a gray color. It's just like flashbang.
Yeah.
Getting flashbanged in Counter-Strike is another thing I experienced with this monitor, and it's bad.
Flashbangs. Good old Counter-Strike. Dude, I've been really watching that Joel Haver YouTube channel.
Joel Haver.
The one who did that rotoscoped animation for Elden Ring.
Yep.
Some of his shit is hilarious. Some of his live action shit is hilarious too. Like the one where he's like basically what the History Channel has become. And they're just like dudes walking out onto ice lakes.
Yeah.
Like that's their job. And then That's what the whole show is about. Or the one where it's like me, you were in my dream last night, and then the dream.
History Channel's fucking terrible now. It's like, oh, Bigfoot, aliens.
Bigfoot, aliens, and fucking Pawn Stars.
Yeah. It's like, how is any of this history? I want to learn about fucking.
Well, to be fair, Ancient Aliens used to be kind of interesting.
They
but now
used to
it's
be,
just-
but now it's just overplayed.
It's just repeating, and they're just hamming it up.
And none of it's compelling. Like,
Well, it used to be. Some of it was actually really. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the theory itself. It wasn't like, okay, ancient astronaut theories. It was all of the things that they were presenting that most people didn't know about.
right.
Like, those were the interesting things. And that's what actually turned me on to a lot of this stuff. Don't even get me started on this shit, Harley, because I can rant for days on ancient history and how it's fucking not what we think it is.
Do you want to tell me all about how the Egyptians had electricity?
No.
Because I believe that one.
I don't think that. Well, I mean, I might as well tell you. I think that the pyramid, the Great Pyramid at least, was a power plant.
Well, I fully believe that based on the story of that one explorer, archaeologist, whatever he was, who like hiked up to the top of one of the pyramids and then like suddenly like convulsed like he had just touched an electric fence and then like stood in the same place and it like happened again. And it turns out there's like chambers underneath them that have certain water and air movements that generate electromagnetism.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like a real thing. That's not made up. And so it's like, I believe it. I believe they figured out some weird physics hack to make that work. That's why they had like super shiny capstones on the pyramids. They weren't just for show.
Polished, and this type of stones that they were using were, relatively speaking, insulation, or they were much more insulated than the stones that were underneath, which conducted electricity a lot better. But there's a guy, his name is Christopher Dunn. He's an aerospace engineer who works specifically in calibrating tools for the process of, making aircraft and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So he works in very precise, about as precise as you can get as far as objects go. And when he went to Egypt, he realized that a lot of the things that went into the creation of it were too like laser precise. Like if you were off a couple inches here, a couple inches there, you could not make a pyramid. And it's an 8-sided pyramid too, by the way. It's not 4-sided. But you can only tell that it's 8-sided on the equinox. That's the only time that you can tell, because the sun is so perfectly in line with the side that that's when you can see. You can even Google it. The 8-sided Great Pyramid equinox. That you can see that it's 8-sided. And he goes on to explain that, through the residue inside of the pyramid that was on the wall, I don't know the chemical makeup of it or whatever, but basically it's the same as if you were burning hydrogen. Like
so,
that's the residue.
So Discovery.com uses a white background.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's neat. I never knew that.
Yeah. So there's a certain level of precision that goes into the creation of this thing that it would require modern tools to replicate.
Yeah.
But anyways, he breaks down why, like, he thinks that because underneath the pyramid there's a chamber that was connected to a series of like aqueduct tunnels. Because underneath the plateau there's just this network of water tunnels that exist there. And there was one specific chamber that was underneath, like directly underneath the pyramid, underneath all the stone, that was connected to these tunnels. And he theorized that what was happening was that they were pumping water in and out in this rhythmic fashion. So basically they would pump the water in, the water would slam against the ceiling, which would cause the floor and the pyramid to vibrate. And then he theorizes this because it's not only because it's connected to the tunnels, but there's just like these giant multi-ton like granite stones that have been cracked on the surface, which, it was just, he thinks that there's, just rhythmic beating against them. But also inside there's multiple like 100, 200 ton granite stone blocks that have been cracked by something. And each chamber inside the pyramid is extremely like acoustically tuned,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can stand in the king's chamber and like say something, not even yelling, and somebody standing at the mouth of the entrance can hear it. Like it's the way the vibrations are.
Yeah. I've been to
Um,
places like that, like certain domed rooms and things where you can stand on one
Yeah.
side and whisper, and people on the other side can hear you.
but he basically theorizes that there was like some sort of resonating machines inside the pyramid. And there's all these tubes, like these. Do you remember, like in the '90s, when they sent that drone up one of the tunnels, and they found that there was just like this block with two copper rods going through the middle of it?
I don't think I ever heard about that one.
Well, there is. They like sent this like little drone up, and they drilled through it only to find just an empty room on the other side. And he was saying that basically there was like it was basically just a giant hydrogen um reactor, and it was transmitting electricity wirelessly through this resonance, and that all of the obelisks, the ancient Egyptian obelisks that were around the area, because they were built on really kind of unique crystal quartz pedestals.
That's what I was going to bring up next, is the obelisks as like receivers.
Yeah, they were the receivers of that resonance, and they were vibrating at their own frequency, and then that frequency would basically transmit, to the local area.
Yeah.
But him and other people all kind of agree that this is some high technology shit that, it looks primitive because it's made out of stone and it's been weathered throughout the ages.
Yeah.
But not just the Great Pyramid, but the other pyramids that are next to it also have the similar, because there's no evidence at all inside that there was any burial at all. Like other Egyptian tombs, there's fucking shit everywhere. Every square inch of the walls, the ceiling, it's all covered in hieroglyphics and shit. There's nothing inside this. Nothing. In fact, when they first cracked it open and got in, there was like an inch of like chemical residue. They had to scrape it all off because it was just this black, burnt substance that was all over all of the surfaces. They cleaned it so that it wasn't so, and it was like salty. And then they break down the chemistry of it and show that when you burn hydrogen with this chemical, it creates this, sodium, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
The fucking pyramid is like, there's another documentary, I think it was called The Pyramid Code.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that dude? He was in a couple of movies. He was in Super Troopers. He was like the captain, the old guy.
I haven't seen Super Troopers.
What? Holy shit.
Yeah.
That movie's fucking one of the best movies ever made.
So I've heard.
But he was also in Troy. He was the king. Fuck, I can't remember his name. Oh my god. Why isn't he one of the first ones? Brian Cox. So Brian Cox narrates this thing, and it's probably one of the most comprehensive like breakdowns of the pyramid, but not only just the pyramid, but all of the other megalithic sites around the earth that are unexplainable, and the mathematics associated with it. And they interview like modern architects, and all the architects agree that we couldn't make this thing today if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And how there is literally a line around the planet in a straight line for all of these megalithic sites. Just they're just in a line.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising how much ancient stuff that we can't quite figure out how to replicate, even with modern technology. Like they just barely figured out like Roman concrete.
Yeah. And we don't know how they made Greek fire either. So Greek fire was something that when you would like shoot it at somebody and they caught on fire, they would go underwater and they would still burn.
Yeah, you couldn't put it out.
You couldn't put it out.
Yeah.
And they don't know how they did that, basically. I mean, they can create some sort of chemical that'll do the same, but
it's not not what it was.
Yeah, it's not what it was.
Yeah.
We don't know what they did. I think that, did you ever play Assassin's Creed.
Yes. I played
Up,
all the
up
way up
until
till
when?
I played all of them up to halfway through Black Flag.
Okay, I got to the American one, but then I never really played because that. So Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 were the only ones that they had originally planned as far as the story goes,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're the only ones that really matter. But you remember the story of them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How there was like this ancient race that was wiped out.
Yeah.
And that mind blowing scene from Brotherhood or whatever, or the second one where
Brotherhood was the best one by far.
Brotherhood, was that the one where they stop and they look at you, or was that the second one?
Where they like look towards the camera as like
yeah,
a fourth
they're
wall
like
thing?
talking to Ezio, and then they're like, "Nope, this isn't a message for you. This is a message," and they look at you.
That is the end of Brotherhood. Yes.
Yeah,
because
that shit was so good.
Because after the end of Brotherhood, you get like your consciousness transferred into like a virtual world, because it's like broken or corrupted or something, and then that's the plot of the third Assassin's Creed 2, which the name escapes me.
Yeah, the one where you're a native.
No, that's Assassin's Creed 3. There's one after Brotherhood that's in the Ezio trilogy.
Brotherhood. Yeah, I maybe never played that one then.
It wasn't as good as Brotherhood. It kind of felt cheap. Like the gameplay of Brotherhood was really, really solid. This one felt like it was like a kind of dumbed down version.
See, why can't they just go the way of FromSoft and just not try and reinvent the wheel?
Ezio Collection.
Anyways.
It was called. Please don't be a white page.
What do you mean a white page? Why don't you have Dark Reader on?
It was called Revelations.
Yeah, that was underwhelming. I remember that one.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed.
I played it, but it was, I don't know, it felt tacked on.
Assassin's Creed 3 was really cool in the first part where you play as Haytham Kenway and you're on the ship and all that stuff. And then you switch perspectives to like his like half native son and who's just like a whiny douchebag. And then the rest of that game was dog shit. I can't believe I had managed to finish that.
Yeah.
Black Flag was really good, but I just keep kind of getting bored halfway through. But I don't want to play any of the newer ones until I've played through all of them in order. So I'm kind of stuck on the Assassin's Creed timeline.
I don't know, dude. Assassin's Creed 1 and then up through Brotherhood, I think were perfection. Like, 2 was my favorite. Brotherhood, I think technically, because they fit in the same boat for me.
Yeah,
but
two Brotherhood and Revelations are a trilogy.
Wasn't Revelations, was that the one where you went to Byzantine? Or was that the Revelations one where you were in the Eastern Roman Empire?
You're in Rome in Brotherhood.
Yeah, you're in Italy, and then you go to the Byzantine Empire in the next one.
Is that like Constantinople?
It's Constantinople.
Okay, yeah, that's Revelations. Is Constantinople.
Yeah. So that one was cool, I think, because of the setting, because they did a really good job with the Byzantines. I remember when we first got that game, and like we were having a party, and somebody had just bought it. It came out midnight the day before, and we were just watching him to go through all like the executions that you have when you fought him, and just like going, "Oh my god!" It was good. But anyways, back to what I was saying. So basically, that story describes that there was some sort of catastrophe that wiped out this previous ancient civilization that was highly advanced, and I think that is kind of close to what actually happened. There was an ancient advanced civilization. It was the Gould. Fucking Gould. It was fucking Apothos, dude.
Yep. It was him all along. I knew it.
That dude was a dick.
The System Lords showed up, and then all of that race got wiped out.
I like how they came with the themes of the gods and shit, but at the same time, some of them are really cheesy.
I mean, yeah.
Like, fucking Zeus and shit. I guess they had huge egos, so it makes sense, but yeah.
You mean in real life?
No, I mean
in Stargate.
Like in Stargate. I mean, I guess there could be real Goulds out there.
Well,
fighting off Thor.
Well, I mean,
Thor's
little gray alien.
Zapping him out of fucking, just teleporting him away.
But
well, they figured out how to fight him, I guess.
Yeah. today at work I was raving about the Jackass movie and certain scenes from it, particularly the fake snake one. But I mentioned how I thought Johnny Knoxville looks like Colonel O'Neill, and how it would be really funny to see a Stargate parody that's like that cast of characters. And we were discussing how you could even do a Stargate parody, since it's such a whimsical, weird show anyway. Like,
Yeah. I mean, they kind of make fun of themselves.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. But I thought Assassin's Creed 1 was probably one of the coolest game experiences I've ever had.
It was at the time, definitely, because it was just so different.
The whole concept of, like going into your DNA's ancestral memory,
mm-hmm.
and then trying to learn. And if you would go to, it made sense from a game point perspective too, like why you couldn't go out of the city.
Yeah, or why you couldn't
he had no memory. Yeah, he had no memory of that, so you can't go over there.
Yeah. And if you die, you don't actually die. You desynchronize with the memory, because that's not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really cool. The gameplay in Black Flag was phenomenal. The story was really just forgettable.
Yeah, I think at that point they're just kind of carrying on the franchise.
I've heard Valhalla is really good, though.
Yeah, I was done with it after the Ezio trilogy. I played the American one for a little bit, but it was just like, meh.
Yeah, that one sucked. That one's widely considered the worst one.
Oh, I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Kind of want to play Origins, because it's the one that's set in Egypt. I tried to play it, but it crashed on my computer, and then I just never went back to it.
There was the French one too. I didn't really hear too much about that though.
Let's see, there was Unity was the French one, I think. And then there was another one, started with an I. I don't know, they've made so many of them.
Yeah. I mean, I get why, because of money, but...
Yeah.
That dude just got stabbed in the throat. I'm watching the cutscenes from Assassin's Creed full movie cinematic. 4K Ultra HD.
Just the way the stealth worked in that game was like the first time you really ever got to do anything like that.
Which one?
The first Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah, we just like, I liked how you just like. Did you ever watch Mega 64?
Oh yeah, that video is so awkward.
I actually just I met those dudes in San Diego Comic-Con once.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and when we took a picture of them, they put T-shirts over our faces, so you can't tell it's us. It's all of them hanging over our shoulders, but just T-shirts over our faces.
No, that video though, whenever he's just like yanking people into things and touching everybody,
he's just touching everybody as he walks.
Everybody goes and sits between people on a bench. And,
yeah, that shit was fucking amazing.
My favorite video of theirs was the Prince of Persia one, Sands of Time, where he's like he's in the restaurant and he like drops the tray of food and then goes. And then just goes back and then puts the tray back on the counter and walks backward out of the store.
I like the one where he was Resident Evil.
Welcome, stranger.
What are you, boy? He was like outside of a Costco or something.
And then they call the cops on him.
Yeah.
What do you got for sale? Things.
Things.
Dude, I played Resident Evil 4 in VR.
That's good.
It's good, but that's the first game in a while that I got motion sickness from. It has like none of the proper safeguards against it, and so
the port. Yeah, just a good port. You should have. Have you ever tried using Vortex?
What's that?
Don't. It's basically a program that you can use to like force VR compatibility with games.
I've used stuff like that before when I had my Rift Dev Kit 1.
And it's always just a nauseating shit show. I tried it with GTA 5. Fuck that.
I tried it with Skyrim before Skyrim VR was a thing, and also I was on the Dev Kit 1, so it was like OG VR, and I was playing it and I was like, oh, this is kind of okay, and I was running through Helgen and stuff in the beginning, and then I accidentally pressed whatever button it is that puts you into third person. And then at the same time, for some reason, I was like going to look down or something, and I moved my mouse forward, and so my camera was behind my head, and it went like this over the top of me, and I just immediately like ripped the headset off and ran to the bathroom and threw up. Like, it was just an instant reaction.
Yeah.
Same thing with Slender 8 Pages. Like, I really wanted to play that game in VR, but it was just the most sickening experience from that stupid headset, and so I got the first page, and then Slender Man starts showing up, and then I got the second page, and it starts getting crazier, and then by the 7th page, like, the music is at a crescendo, and the storm's going crazy, and he's appearing every few seconds, and then I was like, I'm gonna get this last page if it fucking kills me. And I finally ripped the last page off of the tree, and then, like, everything stops, and then, yeah, headset off, run to the bathroom, vomit up everything I've eaten for the last 4 days. It took me like an hour to get all 8 pages, so I'm just sitting there to continuous torture.
Constantly vomiting.
That was a fun game, though. I liked Slender Arrival.
I played Slender on Gary's Mod. That was a lot of fun. Gary's Mod games.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah.
Love Gary's Mod.
Fucking Prop Hunt was a lot of fun. You get like 6 friends together, and the right map too.
One of these days, I want to get a group together and play Among Us again.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down.
Yeah.
Well, we could play Among Us in fucking VR chat too. We get enough people to play in VR.
Yeah. I haven't gone back and checked to see how Zenith is doing, if it's updated, or... I just haven't really felt like playing VR.
Yeah, it's just a pain in the ass for me to set up. I should probably unplug my lighthouses too, so they don't get worn out. I'm surprised they've lasted this long.
Mine doesn't really require any setup. It just gives me a headache. So.
All right, dude. Well, I gotta go to work tomorrow, so I think I'm
Okay.
gonna call it now.
Yeah, we've been going for quite a while, so we can wrap
Yeah.
up. So, good night, viewers.
Smash the like button.
Jesus Christ.
Isn't that what we're supposed to say?